I'll call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Quiet coyote. Okay, so we will start with our land acknowledgement. We recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of the Lejeune, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay-Miwok, and Northern Yokut, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the MDUSD community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of MDUSD and broader Bay Area communities today. You may stand for the pledge. Okay, so we move on to 6.3, review and potential approval of the minutes for regular board meeting held October 23rd, 2024.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting, October 23rd, 2024.
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Cowan and the second by trustee Mason. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So we move to 6.4, review and potential approval of the agenda. Dr. Clark, are you asking for any changes this evening?
Yeah, I have a couple changes here. First of all, I'd like to move item 12.3 to item 8.0. And then I would like to move item 15.11 to item 11.0. And I would like to move 15.15 to 11.1. And I would like to move 15.16 to 11.2.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the suggested changes by the superintendent.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mayo and a second, or sorry, trustee Mason and a second by trustee Nsewi. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
It was 4 items. It was, well, the ones that are coming off of consent, that is 1511, 1516, and 1515 and 1516. So that's 3 items off of consent. And then item 12, yeah, 12.3 to 8.0. Yeah, it's gonna be, yeah. Microphone.
Trustee Mason made the motion and trustee Nzewi seconded. And that motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So we move to 7.0, the report out of action in closed section. For 7.1, negotiations, the board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees. Government Code Section 54957.6, the board received information. For 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee. In closed session by vote of 5-0, the board took action to approve the resignation of 2 employees per the separation agreements. For 7.3, public employee performance evaluation superintendent, pursuant to Government Code 54957, we developed goals for the superintendent. For item 7.4, confidential student matter, let's see, sorry. In one confidential student matter, the board by a vote of 5-0 decided to not hear an appeal of complaint against a district employee pursuant to board policy administrative regulation 1312.1. For item 7.5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. In a vote of 5-0, the board voted to accept the settlement agreement as presented. And then for item 7.6, conference with legal counsel, but in a vote of 5-0, the board voted to approve the settlement agreement as presented. So that should move us to public. Are we moving to public comment? We made some changes. 8.0, the presentation. Okay, thank you.
So trustees, in first week of October, we received our official CAFS data back. And so I've been committed to this board of bringing back our data and sharing it publicly and discussing it. Again, my primary goal here is to ensure that all students are college and career ready after they exit our organization. One way that the state monitors us is through our standardized testing that takes place in the spring of every year. And so what I have for you today is some slides about our performance. So as I've shared these with you before, you can see that CAFS shows how well students are meeting grade level standards in smarter balanced summative assessments in English language arts, mathematics, and also this year, the California Science Test. In SBAC, students, just so everyone's aware, students in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 take the Smarter Balanced Assessment. And English learners who have been enrolled in a school in the United States less than 12 months, ELA only, and students enrolled in or assigned to grades 3 through 8 and 11, whose IEP team designates the use of the California alternative assessments. And then, like I said, the science test was given for the first time. So I've shared many times before, this is our LCAP goals. We have goal 1. I'm not going to go through them, but I will just read the first sentence of it, is that all students will receive a high quality education in a safe and welcoming environment with equitable high expectations. And then goal 2, I'll just read the first half of it, and that's high quality, culturally proficient, and responsive staff will create a safe and supporting and engaging learning environment respectful of all students' backgrounds. And then in goal 4, we have a special goal that was required by the state about our focal scholars, because these are students who over the years have continued to not achieve successful levels within our district. And so those focal scholars would be specifically our Black and African American students, our foster youth, McKinney-Vento students experiencing homelessness, students with disabilities, and our multilingual students will experience a culturally responsive practices and instruction and high expectation and equal access to educational opportunities. So our district as a whole, this is where our students have met district-wide. And so as we look at these different bands, if you look at the blue band here, those are our students who have exceeded grade level standards. So again, when you, just for common people's terms, blue would equivalent to an A in a course. Green would, blue would be an A, green would be equivalent to a B, the yellow would be equivalent to a C, and the orange would be equivalent to a D if we're not giving Fs. So as you can see in English language arts, out of the entire students that took this exam, 45.52% of those students met or exceeded, so received an A or a B in English language arts. So that's a little less than half of our students who took the test are at or above grade level. And in mathematics, these numbers are a little bit more challenging. 37% of our students met or exceeded. And so you can see 18.22% exceeded, 19.12% met, and our biggest band there is the students who where standard was not met, and we're at 39% there. As we break that down and kind of show where we compare to the state of California and to Contra Costa County, students exceeding, you can see at the state level, 21% at the state level, 24% in Contra Costa County, and in Mount Diablo, 19%. So we're trailing the state and the county and exceeded. As we go to the next one, standards met, the state is at 26%, 26.02. Contra Costa County is 26.53, and Mount Diablo is 25.69. Again, a little bit behind there. And then nearly met, so that would be in the average of C range, state of California, 21%, Contra Costa County, 20%, and Mount Diablo, 22%. Again, these are students who almost met standards but weren't quite there. And then not meeting standards at the state level, there's 31% of students that don't meet standards in the state, 29 in the county, and in Mount Diablo, 31.91%. So again, this is the work that I'm committed to doing. This is the work that our principals are working on, of course, our teachers and staff. This is our charge here. So as we look at our math, 17 in the state, 21 in Contra Costa County, 18 in Mount Diablo. So we are ahead of the state average in students exceeding in math, and 17% in the standard met at the state level, 18 in Contra Costa County, and 19% in Mount Diablo. So in math, we actually are outperforming the state, but not the county. And then you can see at students not meeting standards is 40% statewide, and we're at 39%. So a little bit behind there. So if we look at the changes over time, the results have showed that there has not been a difference in percentage of students meeting or exceeding standards in ELA in 23-24 compared to 22-23. And there was a 1% more students meeting or exceeding in math. So we did have a 1% growth overall in math this last year to the previous year. As we break this down to some of our student groups, if we look at our African-American students throughout the district, 28% of our African-American students have exceeded or met standards. And if we break that down, 10% of our African-American students district-wide who've taken the exam have exceeded standards. 18% of our African-American students district-wide have met standards. And if you look at the band of African-American students that have not met standards, almost 50%. So half of our African-American students in the district who take the test have not met the grade level standards in English language arts. Then as we go over to math, numbers are a little bit more dire. We have 6.85% of African-American students have exceeded the standards in math. And in standards met, you can see in green, it's 11%. However, even something that I would like to note, 59% of our African-American students in mathematics have not met grade level standards. So this is why you see African-American students on the focal scholar list on our LCAP goals. This is a huge priority of the state. This is our priority that we have to address this. As we look at our multilingual students, these are students who are learning the language. You see of students who have exceeded standards, multilingual students, that is 0.8% have exceeded in our multilingual students. And I know we're doing a presentation later on in this meeting from our multilingual department. And in the green there, I see 3.4% of our multilingual students. And then as we look in the orange, 78% of our multilingual students have not met grade level standards. Again, that's why you see them on the focal list of being a high priority. As we get to math, it's a little higher than ELA, but I think we can all see 80% of our multilingual students are not meeting standards in math. And again, not 0.83, but 0.93 have exceeded those standards. If we look at students with disabilities, you can see we have 15% of our students with IEPs have exceeded or met standards, and 14% of our students with IEPs have met or exceeded standards in mathematics. And again, as I've said many times to this board, all these numbers, I know we're looking at statistics right now, it's all people. It's kids, families, these are people. I don't want us to get so locked into the numbers that we not humanize it. If we look at our foster youth, these are students who are in the foster system and don't have homes to go to or with their parents, but you can see 7.14% of those students have met or exceeded. It's actually all in met. There are no foster students who exceeded standards. If we go over to math, no foster students in our district have met or exceeded standards in math. So again, at the very beginning of our LCAP, we have that group of students who we've highlighted and targeted, and that's why we're specifically calling them out. So as we look at McKinney-Vento, these are students who are homeless. This is a different format here, but unfortunately the numbers are similar. We have 9% of our students who are technically homeless. Doesn't necessarily mean, it means that they're couch surfing, staying with relatives, things like that. But only 9% of those students have exceeded or met standards. And you look and see, when you see that 91% of ones that nearly met or haven't, that's an area of concern. And then you have your 6% versus 9%. And again, our difference, there is no significant difference with any of these groups. I think we've shown a 1% growth in some of these areas. So we still have much work to do in that area. This is just another chart, but this breaks it down by grade level. And again, this is district wide. So it does show within our grade levels. It is, you can see, at least in math, you can see a trend where, where the green is larger in grade 3, but as you get up to grade 11, it shrinks in math, and in ELA, very, very little change in ELA. You can see slight increase, but really lots of work to be done in this area as well. And then this is our science test that we gave this year. And you can see in science, this is district-wide. There is, we have 9.89% have exceeded standards, and 20% have met standards. But you can see the not met is at 15, and the nearly met's at 53. So the 53 is almost there. We can just get them over the hump. We could have more students who are meeting standards, but still work to do in that area. And then it's broken down by grade level. So you can see district-wide is at 30%. 5th grade, it's at 32%. 8th grade, down to 28%. And in high school, we're at 30%. So again, this is the science test. Individual student scores are available, and we do have school site scores are also available. Can I have the other presentation? Now, to the general population who goes to the CAF Scores websites, this is what you're going to get. So this is what I'm encouraging our families to look up. So this is the state of California. So this is what it looks like for the state, 4735. I shared that in the previous slide. This is Mount Diablo, 4537. If you look under report options, it has the year, it has the grades, and then it has the different student groups. And under the student groups, there's all the ways that the state has broken up student groups. And then you can go over to the school type, and I have all schools loaded in there, but you can load up the individual schools to see how those students perform. So let's look at how some of our students did. Again, we have disabilities. I went over this in the previous slide, but again, this is what I'm directing parents to look at. So all students with disabilities, this is how they performed. These are the economic status of students. So if you look at students who come from a economically disadvantaged background, they're at 26% at 17. If I go back district-wide, you see it's 47-37. So if you just look at students who have financial challenges, you see that they perform a lot lower than just our general population of students. So let's compare this to students who are not significantly economically disadvantaged. So students who have more resources, you can see they're at 60% at met or exceeded in ELA, 52% in met or exceeded in mathematics. Let's take it back one, and so you see the difference there. I'm at in ELA, it's 33%, and in math we have 17 and 52. So you see those learning differences amongst those student groups. So then if we look at parent education, if we look at parents who do not possess a high school diploma, so when we talk about the importance of our students graduating high school and earning that diploma and reducing dropouts, we can see how those students who have parents who don't have a high school degree, they're at 18% and 6% in math. And if we break down, I think if we look at students who've exceeded standards, we're at 2% in ELA, and for exceeding standards in math, I think that's 1.1%. So, and then if we compare that with parents who are college graduates, you can see the difference. You can see it's 53% versus 18% and 6% versus 46%. So 40% difference between those parent education. There is one more that I didn't include here, but there's also post-college that's even, obviously, even, it's going to be even higher than the 53%. If we look at, again, American Indian, these are our race and ethnicity groups. You can see where they are. They are at 28.5%, 15.3%. Again, this is not the language I'm using, but this is the language that the state puts, American Indian and Alaska Native. If we look at our Asian students within the district, 60% and 53%. You can see, what do we have? 32% exceeded standards. So that's the number we're going to look at. When we look at students who did not meet standards, I think that's 23%. If we look at, again, I think we've already gone over our African-American students. So we have 28 to 18. Again, the state requires us to compare student groups together, so we can see the difference between some of our student groups. We look at our Filipino students, 62% and 54%. Look at our Hispanic students, 28%. Again, not my language, Hispanic or Latino, but 28% to 19%. And if we look at our Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, we have 20% versus 19%. So these are our white students, 61%, 61.72%. If you look at exceeded standards, I think that's 36% that have exceeded standards in the ELA. And in math, you see it 28%, I believe, have exceeded standard. But again, you got 61 to 54. So I think as you compare our different student groups, that's why, as a district, we have to come up with programs that target these students to provide more resources, more support. I think mindset is a big thing about expectations. That is part of our LCAP goals, is to make sure that we have high expectations for all students. Again, we only control when students come through our doors, and so that's why we want to make sure that grade level standards are being taught in every classroom. Why we want to make sure that we're giving our students real-time feedback, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them at every juncture. Every single student group that I popped up here deserves our 100% support. And as we look at mixed race students who are 2 or more races, 57% and 49%. And again, when you look at the student groups, there's all sorts of ways that anyone can go to these websites and to break them down. So again, my commitment to this board was that I was going to be transparent with this data, and I was not going to manipulate it in any way. I would take responsibility. All of this data is on me. I'm the superintendent. It's my responsibility to support our students. And so I take responsibility for this. I'm not happy with all of this, and I would like to continue to see us allocate resources, continue to support our students any way that we can, support our families, support those who support our students, so that we can continue to increase this. I do understand that standardized testing is just one slice of the pie. We have lots of other ways that we also measure our students. Students receive grades, students receive progress on meeting standards. Students have activities in class, whether it's behavior, citizenship, all of those things play into developing the whole child. These standardized test scores are just one slice that we use. However, these are the ones that will end up in the paper. These are the ones that will have us under some sort of state assistance program, which we are under. When I came into this district close to 5 years ago, we were under differentiated assistance by the state because of our data, and so we're still trying to work out. We're trying to work out from that. So I'm open to questions from the board if you have any questions regarding my presentation.
Yes, first, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing this information. It's so important for all of us to see and understand. And like you were saying, for families to be able to look at it for their own child in their own schools as well. Just a few things came to mind as I was looking at the data. One, when you talked about economic disadvantage, and it just has me immediately thinking about the results of the election and the possibility of our federal funding, Title I funds going away. And that is one of the things that is supposed to be helping us at least deal with those economic inequities to some degree. So that's, we'll see what happens there. But for us to be looking at the Title I dollars that we do have and how we can best be allocating those and spending those at each school site to try to overcome that economic disadvantage. And then in terms of thinking about how are we helping kids? How are we addressing this? I did get a chance to view the math curriculum materials last week or the week before that are available for the whole public to view and for our staff to take a look at. And it was great to be able to see all the possibilities for elementary and middle school math. One thought that I had from that, looking at that whole process, was that there were 4 different criterion that they were looking for feedback from everybody on each of those types of curricula. And so just going forward in that process, one thing that I'm thinking about is, have we had a discussion district-wide, and maybe it would be helpful to have it at the board level or a board workshop going forward at some point. Do we have a complete understanding of what are the evidence-based practices, the best practices where we have seen schools and districts actually achieve that math understanding and the growth that we want to achieve? What are those best practices? And then how are we evaluating our curriculum choices based on that? So like some of the things with the new math framework that they talk about are, do students have a growth of number fluency, the ability to use strategies that are flexible and accurate, and the value of things like math talks and games, encouraging students to do mental problem solving and communication, as well as playful exploration and skill practice. So just, it might be helpful going forward for us to have a full discussion about what all of those areas are, and then how are we making decisions on our curriculum and our professional development in terms of math. And then similarly, today I was really excited to attend the California Reading Summit with a number of other, I know there were some teachers from our district there, as well as administrators and even parents. And that similarly, I think it will help for us all to get on the same page, including our parents and families, to understand what are those best practices. What was great about the Reading Summit was that they actually showed examples of school districts from California and across the US that have been able to move that needle for literacy, and what types of supports and plans did they put into place. One of the biggest things that they emphasized there was that you need a comprehensive plan, not just a curriculum, which I think we've talked about. But they were talking about how it's most important to have a plan that's created together by everyone. So you've got, your teachers, your reading specialists, students, parents, kind of developing that roadmap together that we're all going to move along for the next couple of years. And that they also talked about how adult learners are motivated to do deep work when they have a clear understanding of expectations. So the more that we get onto the same page and are rowing that boat in the same direction, the better that will go. And then lastly, one other takeaway that I had from the summit was the recommendation to lean into your assets. Look at those things that are going well in your district, and success breeds more success. So I would like to say, just for all of our teachers and educators and school sites, just take this as an open invitation. Please invite us as board members to come and visit and see you in action. Where are those shining stars? How can we help elevate the successes that you are having out there and share them across the district and breed that success? Thanks.
Thank you. And we do, during our Friday letter, we do try to highlight many of our wonderful educators and staff, employees throughout the district and different programs and highlight that. So absolutely. I thank you for your comments.
Thank you as always for your transparency. So let's say we do all this, have the best curriculum, the best practices and whatnot. I know that over the 4 years that since we've been under SACE, CSACE, I call it SACE. I make up names.
All right.
CEIS. Let me back up. I've brought up multiple times this fall, especially as I've learned at CASA at the equity conference I went to in September, that not only Black students, but every student does better under a Black educator. And Black educators is something we have few and far between in this district. Yet we saw the numbers of Black children. We saw the data from Black children and our other focal scholars. I also have recalled over the 4 years that we've been met with resistance from in implementing the CSACE plan. What have we done, or what can we do to build buy-in with our current school sites so that every child has adults on campus that believe that they can learn, that believe that they can be taught, and believe that they're worth it?
Well, that's something we continue to work on. We had to really modify our our focal scholar program because of some of the resistance that we received. And so, but we are still doing parent outreach. We're doing tutoring for students. We're working with mental health of our students and trying to provide that counseling for them and things of that nature. So I believe that that we are making progress in some areas, but to make it systemic, so it's not just you're at this one school and at this school they do XYZ and are really supportive, all that, but then you're at another school and maybe that same support isn't there. So how do we make it systemic? So regardless of where a student comes from and what their background is, that they are going to be exposed and have the expectations that this student is worthy, and if the student's falling behind, that we as the educated adults are doing everything possible to help that student reach his or her goals. And so that's what we're going to continue to strive for and work towards. And continue to support our educators who come in to work in our district and serve our students.
I would just say, kind of sadly, that having been born and raised in this district, the numbers haven't changed a lot from when I went to school or my kids went to school. The first time I ran for the school board, it was the Common Core was the thing. And at that time, I'm like, why are you trying to do that across the country when you can't assure a kid in Concord is getting the same education as a kid in Pleasant Hill, as a kid in Bay Point? I think that's something that we've started to formalize. So it's more, you could feel like whatever school you go to, you're going to get some kind of consistency with the programs we're bringing on. I thank you for that. And I hope we can, like you say, start tightening it up and looking at what's really making a difference and provide it for all of our kids. Even though I don't think we'll ever get around the number one indicator being social economics, we can certainly do more things to even the playing fields for all of our students everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you. So again, this is just an information report for the board. I posted on the agenda so families and employees can look at it. And of course, I'm always open to discussing this, and we'll continue to talk about our data throughout the years.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Okay, so that should move us to public comment. And so this is the time in the meeting where the public may address the board on any item that's not on the agenda. And then public comment will also be allowed on each specific agenda item prior to board action. It looks like we have many public comments, many speakers, 20 cards. Okay. This is a lot of speakers, so I'm going to ask that each speaker speaks for 2 minutes so that we can, it's for 2 minutes. So please be concise with your comments. We look forward to hearing from all of you and are glad that you're here. So thank you for coming. And if I mispronounce your name, please correct me. Our first speaker is Karina Kartamaislev.
Hi, thank you for listening. This is about sexual harassment allegation against a high school teacher. I want to ask you, if you suspect unsafe behavior in a student, are you going to follow the student from the field where there's a rally into the bathroom, wait until the student goes into the bathroom stall, have his genital areas out, and the teacher would be looking through the broken lock and then enter the stall and ask him to get out and let me check your pockets? So if it's a true safety issue, why would the teacher follow the student to the bathroom? It would have been too late if he had a gun, if he had a knife. Yes, there was a vaping device found. My student did not have a history of carrying or using vaping devices in the past. So, and the allegation was found not substantiated. And it was based on the Mr. Sheehy reason for decision finding sexual harassment case not substantiated because I have detected incorrect subjective response report that led to a procedure error that took the investigation outside of Title IX, I believe. And that's my appeal. I believe there was no sexual conduct per se, but he was observing, he was looking, he was following my student to the restroom and coming close to him and directing him to leave the restroom. That's all. And that's what I'm appealing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Brett Hopt.
Dr. Clark, members of the board, hello again. I do want to talk to you tonight about the election. Now, there are many different avenues in which I can speak to you at this, but the first thing that I would like to say is that as educators, I think we did a really, really good job in the lead up to this election, promoting civic engagement in our students. For example, at Sequoia and several other middle schools had an initiative where we had our students vote on the same things that all of us adults vote on for Pleasant Hill, for Contra Costa nationally, and for the state. And I was so excited at the engagement that we had and the way as teachers that we are able to present this information in a nonpartisan way, give students the resources to go and explore and figure these things out for their own. I am so proud of that. Now, with the election, with the presidential election and the incoming administration, this is an administration that has been hostile to education. I know that the anxieties of our teachers are at an all-time high with this. And I know the anxieties of many of my students, many of some in the last week who have confided in me and who have spoke to their peers about they don't know if they'll be here in the coming years. They don't know what's going to happen to them. So when we as teachers, we experience this every day. We live this with our students. And so the best thing that I can say is that in the coming years, when we have this tough time in education, value us, hear us when we say to you what we need, value us when we say we know what these students need, because our students deserve the best. And if anything, this is the time to recommit and double down, not to be cautious about the budget. It is time to give everything to our students.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Amanda.
Good evening. I'm here to support my fellow teachers and ask for the upcoming bargaining or about the upcoming bargaining that you please listen to our wants and needs. Teachers are told at many district meetings that our students are our North Star. To help our children, here are some things that I think are important. One, counselors. One of the items that my teachers discussed, at a recent meeting was hiring more counselors for elementary school. We have one counselor for 1.5 days a week. We have 688 students at my school site. 688, no vice principal, and one counselor for barely 2 days a week. I have asked for students to see counselors. Parents have emailed me asking for counselors to see their child. We have been told no. Their caseload is already maxed. It's too high. How does this support our students? If the district can't afford a full-time counselor at elementary, can we at least start with maybe 3 days a week? Our students need their help. They deserve more. A side note, shout out to the middle school counselors, especially Miss Stewart at Sequoia Middle. She's amazing and she's a gift to students. The second thing, librarians in secondary. When you bargain, can you please hear our plea that secondary librarians need to be brought back? My own two children that are in middle school and high school don't have librarians, and I think that needs to change. The next is salary. Surprise, surprise. Consent agenda 1515 tonight. You're voting to change the CBO's annual salary to $235,440. This is an important job. I'm not saying that the CBO doesn't deserve a decent pay, a competitive salary, but everyone's job that works in the school district is important. I think it would be nice if the adults that are in the classroom every day teaching our students, our North Star, were paid a livable wage. Teachers are leaving our district due to salary. So if you can adjust the CBO salary, I'm asking if you could consider the same for teachers. I'm going to skip really quickly. HVAC, heating, air. If we could please fix that.
Thank you for your comment.
It is freezing in my room and my 8-year-old students have to get jackets, mittens. It's freezing. The next classroom is a sauna. We can't turn it off. So please help. Thank you.
Thank you. Roberto Murillo. Roberto Murillo.
Good evening, board and superintendent. My name is Roberto Murillo, and I have been a special education teacher at El Dorado for 6 years. Sorry, my notes. I come today to address a challenge that we're having with private school assessments. The current language in our contract states that a private school student who is residing in our school boundaries can request an IEP or assessment, and we must respond accordingly. This has become a great burden on us as case managers because it distracts us from working with our Mount Diablo students. Being a resource teacher is challenging work, and with a full caseload, meeting deadlines takes a lot of time and coordination. We teach, assess students, progress monitor, observe and collaborate, write IEPs, but most importantly, we must be present for our students with social emotional needs. We're receiving more assessments than we traditionally have. We started off the year with a couple of requests pending. We were asked to promptly begin working on them. The beginning of the year is a vital time for us to prepare our timelines for the year, build rapport with our students, review IEPs, and teach. Private school assessments typically come up at the beginning and end of the school year when we are establishing our classes and transitioning students to the new case manager. Completing one assessment can take 3 to 8 hours. This is a time we're being pulled away from our students, which puts us in a precarious situation of not servicing them as written in their IEPs. Our prep periods are spent working on these assessments and reports, and we need time to prepare for supporting students on our caseload and our school. To make matters worse, the private school deadlines can interfere with our Mount Diablo student deadlines, but we're pressured to figure it out. And many of these assessments can become litigious, and we're pressured to please these parents. Therefore, we're asking the district to support us with taking on private school cases. This way, we can give our full attention and care to our caseload. We don't feel that this current policy allows us to give our best effort for our Mount Diablo students. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Heather Hollis.
Good evening, board members and community members. I'm Coach Heather. I'm the cheer coach at Mount Diablo High School. Sorry. This year, we weren't able to go to every single away game because we couldn't fundraise enough for our school buses. It's difficult having to explain to my parents, not only do you have to pay for your uniforms, but we also have to pay for our transportation to get there. We do not schedule the games, so parents were confused at how they're expected to pay for not only their uniforms, but for the buses as well. And since CIF recently added regional and state events for cheer, we would have to fundraise for that as well. The girls work just as hard as the other sports. They follow the same academic guidelines and are heavily involved within their community, but still do not receive the same recognition as the other sports. While we do receive so much support from our own athletic directors and our office manager, we know that this issue is beyond their control. Other schools in our state provide uniforms for their cheerleaders. They provide the buses and everything that they need to compete into their regionals and state competitions. We do not get that from our district because we do not receive a budget like every other sport does. I hope a conversation can happen and that the district can provide a budget for all the cheer teams at all of our high schools, because these girls work just as hard, and boys, sorry, they work just as hard as every other sport, and they deserve to not have to pay for their own uniforms or transportation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Audrey Dunleal.
Hello, my name is Audrey Dunleal, and I'm a cheerleader at Mount Diablo High School. Cheer has made me more confident and taught me how to be a team player. Cheer helps people develop social skills and service within the community. Our cheer team gives back to the community in creating food drives, toy drives, and making donations. Unfortunately, cheer is not acknowledged as a traditional sport. This results in us not receiving our own funds. We create fundraisers to cover our transportation to games and our uniforms. The companies we use to fundraise charge us about 25 to 50%, leaving us only a portion of the money we've raised. We believe we should be funded because of our cheer team helps believe in ourselves, promotes school spirit, instills our service to the community, and inspire our sports teams to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Our next speaker is Danielle Ike.
Good evening. I'm actually here speaking on behalf of another teacher who could not make it, Brenda Duenas from Bel Air Elementary. She's been there for 10 years now, and she teaches kindergarten. She would like to make a plea for this bargaining time to ask that students deserve the best because of our educational environment. Every grade should have no more than 24 students, but kindergarten especially needs to be limited. In daycare, the ratio for 5-year-olds is 1 to 14. Our data shows that with smaller class sizes, reading proficiency increases. And in addition, more and more students with special needs, such as autism, are being placed in general ed classrooms. These students are often undiagnosed in kindergarten and struggle to function as teachers cannot devote sufficient time to them. I urge you to limit class sizes to 24 and to please eliminate all combo classes, especially K1. It's time to focus on what's best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Housey.
Hello, my name is Michelle Howesy, and I'm a third grade teacher at Mount Diablo Elementary. As you know, we are one of the 3 schools undergoing the modernization projects right now. Last year, when we found out we were selected, I was hopeful and optimistic. Not anymore. From the start, there has been a complete lack of communication and transparency. I want to know who's making the decisions. Has an actual classroom teacher or somebody from Medea been involved in any of this? Because I think our perspective should be included, because the teacher is the closest thing to our students and we know what's best for them being in the classroom every day. To clarify, because I think this is important, my classroom hasn't even been worked on yet. And actually, I don't even know when it's supposed to occur because these phases have not been explained or shared with staff and families. I actually was not planning on speaking tonight, but our staff meeting today consisted of a modernization update with district personnel and contractors. And now here I am, compelled to speak out and make sure that you all are aware of what is going on. Today, they told us that they are sending the furniture proposal to you guys to be approved in December at your December meeting. I'm kind of I'm a little mind blown right now. So here are the biggest takeaways I believe that are coming out of my site. This is just Mount Diablo Elementary. Student desks. Where is the district adopted curriculum materials going to go? There's a suggested plastic drawer, okay, and we think it might fit the social studies workbook and a couple pencils, and that's it. One solution was that they have like 2 drawers, one in their desk, one over here, and then they do like a switcheroo halfway through the day and waste instructional time. I know this feedback has been given at 3 meetings that were offered to 4 or 5 teachers. I never got this option in 3rd grade. So I started wondering if maybe the furniture company didn't have desks with storage. Well, I went online, went on their catalog, and I found desks, pages 348 to 352. So they do exist. I've also seen teacher desks in our 9 modernized classrooms that are basically little tables. I found teacher desks in the catalog as well. And the biggest thing of all, you guys, is bookshelves. Bookshelves. We have no bookshelves in our new classrooms. There's bookshelves in the catalog. We would love them. Please, I implore you to come to our school. Come during school hours for an extended period of time. Please come. I invite all of you to come. Come see our classrooms that have been modernized. While you're there, I would love for you to use the toilet that takes 3 flushes for liquid waste.
Thank you for your comment.
System that doesn't work. The gates that are installed backwards.
All right. Our next speaker is Scarlett Rhoda.
Test.
Oh, cool. All right. Hi, good evening. I am Scarlett Rada. I am a 4th-year teacher at Pine Hollow Middle School. I wanted to say, if we are really focused on improving our LCAP scores, I think we can start by lowering class sizes because there's so many research and data-informed studies out there that demonstrate lower class sizes not only increase test scores, they also eliminate a lot of redundant disciplinary issues. It also lets teachers give more equitable one-on-one instruction, especially for our marginalized groups, such as students with disabilities, students of color. For us to be a truly equity-focused institution, we must take action visible in the resources we allocate and not just give it mere lip service. Some of the numerous benefits of small class sizes, we know that corresponds to improved academic performance. This is critical for closing the achievement gaps across gender and racial lines. It lowers the school dropout rates. It also lowers public costs for health and social services, improves healthier outcomes for students for the rest of their lives. Our students are the future. Leaving them with higher quality education means they're more likely to vote, volunteer, and enhance their communities. So basically, smaller class sizes offer immense returns on investment, benefiting the entire classroom. Our community benefits by fostering a more educated, healthy, and economically stable society. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Craig Yan.
Good evening, board members, superintendent.
public. Thank you so much for waiting. This point, it's now 7:15, about an hour and 15 minutes after that we had started. This is just a small portion of the type of respect that we have been given from this district. Again, my name is Craig Young. I'm from Valley Verde Elementary. This is my 22nd year within the district. Our other speakers tonight have been very articulate in voicing their concerns. We have been listening. I'm also an executive board member, to our members about what it is that our students need. It's World Kindness Day. So I just wanted to go ahead and wish you happy World Kindness Day. Please take that under consideration as we enter negotiations. Our last contract cycles, sure, we settled 1 year without impasse this past year. However, the 3 previous contract cycles were protracted, where it is that we went into impasse each and every single year. It just doesn't work. That is not kind. That's not how it is that we teachers treat our students. We expect to be treated with kindness and respect. The teachers' working conditions are our students' learning conditions. You dropped all of this data on us. Have we not seen it before? This is not new to us. Is it new to us? So again, as we head into negotiations with a $200 million reserve that you have built up that you could have been using for our students, take that into account. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kit Penovich.
A couple of years ago, I stood before you and said that one of the biggest attractors for you to get teachers in here is compensation. You know, there are all other kinds of issues, but in the end, people are going to say, I need to pay bills. You know, that's what's going to attract me. So, you know, in the meantime, I mentioned that there are 3 things that surrounding districts have done. One, they've enhanced their salary schedule. They have improved their benefits. And then the third thing, for more veteran teachers who may have come in and lost years of service, they have gone back and said, you know what, we need to make you whole. Not necessarily retroactively, but from here forward, you know, and I'm going to give you my example. This is my 31st year teaching. I think I'm on step 19 because I actually worked in this district 20 years, and I was at Clayton Valley, and there was no place for me to come here. And so I stayed there until a job opened up, and I have been here ever since. So I've actually taught in the district for 27 years, and I'm getting paid as a 19-year teacher. So I can easily tell you I probably lost over 100 grand based on that. So, so far there have been some improvements. The salary schedule got enhanced. I'm not sure that was a goodwill gesture. That was desperation, because I sent you my charts that showed you as of the end of last year, we were the worst salary schedule in the area. So it was great that we got this 9%, because now we're kind of in the middle. But there are 5 districts above us, and there are 7 just behind us who are bargaining this year. And if they get substantial, you know, not even substantial increases, they're going to pass us by again. So I hope that we'll be able to get a fair settlement from our negotiations this time to keep us strong. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Dan Reynolds.
Good evening. My name is Dan Reynolds. I am the Executive Director of the Mount Diablo Education Association. This is your first board meeting after the general election. America elected a fascist to the presidency. Our democracy is under threat. We will spend the coming years suffering from his hateful, toxic bile. Many will suffer physically. Many will have their families attacked and torn apart. Many will have their identities vilified, and legislators will attempt to erase them and their contributions to our society and our history. In California, we have some buffer. Our state has a government that values education, that values democracy, and that values a pluralistic society. And they will take steps to protect and defend everyone in our state, but that buffer of being in California will only help so much. Across this state, right-wing politicians ran and won seats in elected office, and they will seek to bring that same Trump brand of hatred, division, and violence with them. That includes this very room. Because sadly, it looks like the voters elected a right-wing Republican to sit on this board. Thomas McDougall, in his own words, does not value equity. He wants to endanger the safety of our transgender students, and he will be a voice on your board weighing in on decisions for our children. He has failed to show a basic understanding of school finance and of the district's fiscal position. He has also made racist comments at public forums. Now is the time for people of good faith and a commitment to progressive ideals to recommit ourselves to the work of educating our children, supporting them, and ensuring that they are safe in our schools. And to do this, we need to map a path forward where we work together to make our schools the best they can be, to educate, to support, to protect, to foster our students, all our students of color, our undocumented students, our LGBTQIA students, especially our transgender students. And that collaborative work fundamentally depends on you to listen to the educators who work every day with our students, to listen to them as they share with you the steps we need to take to improve our schools. We must get through this together collectively, remaining steadfast in our commitment to education, to making our schools welcoming, safe learning spaces for every student, to doing all we can in our time here to struggle onward for racial justice, social justice, and democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Claire Beckner.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Clark. My name is Claire Beckner, and I'm speaking tonight to address an unacceptable change in the way retired substitute classified employees are compensated by the district. Without any notification from the district, we now find our paychecks being calculated in a completely new and frankly troubling manner. I was one of the few retirees who received an email from payroll dated October 2nd with an attached memo from Mr. Sheehy dated August 28th outlining these changes. This memo, however, was sent to my district email, which I rarely check unless I am actively working. I happened to be subbing at home and hospital in early October when I saw it. I thought it was intended for like new retirees or something, and I didn't think much of it. But then I received a call from a colleague who noticed a significant discrepancy in her paycheck. She was paid far less than expected and asked if I had noticed a difference. Here's what I don't understand. Why were we not informed about this change before it was implemented? This oversight is more than a simple misstep. It is an outrage. Is it even legal? It is hard not to feel dismissed and undervalued, especially after the years of dedicated service. I've given 30 years to the district, but now if I work any job other than office manager, the position I retired from, I am being paid at step one, essentially as if I am a brand new hire with no experience. What's even more perplexing and upsetting is that retired teachers who substitute can be paid at a higher rate than a substitute teacher who's not retired. Why is that? Because a retired teacher can bring years of classroom management skills when they walk in. Shouldn't experience, skill, dedication be valued regardless whether you're a teacher or classified? Shouldn't everyone who contributes to the success of our students be compensated fairly?
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Ian Maslin and Janelle Banks.
I'm speaking on behalf of Gina Arnold, who had a family emergency and wasn't able to be here. I and all of my colleagues, including Gina, work at El Dorado Middle School. I apologize. This is from a text message if I stumble over some of the words. Okay. And this is from Gina Arnold. In addition to the multitude of jobs that special day class learning handicapped teachers have to do throughout the day, the district has increased our workload. The district dismantled the deaf and hard of hearing program at the end of last year. 4 students from the DHH program were placed on the SDC teacher's caseload and in our classes. They did not provide any training to meet the diverse needs of DHH students, causing the SDC classroom to exceed the state's maximum class size of 15 students. The DHH program has a caseload and a classroom maximum of 11 students, which is lower than the SDC classroom and caseload maximum of 15 students. The district is not prioritizing the best interest of students, focusing instead on cost-saving measures. This situation has increased the workload for the SDC teachers who are responsible for coordinating all DHH interpreters, service providers, and special education assistants. Furthermore, we are not part of the deaf culture. We do not sign or have knowledge of the service and materials that would best support these students. These students should have a DHH teacher and case manager. They have a DHH teacher both in elementary and high school, but not in the middle school. Not having this program at the middle school is a disservice to our students. We respectfully ask the board to remove the DHH students from the SDC caseloads and reinstate the DHH program so we can continue to provide our students with the high-quality education and services we have done in the past. Sincerely, Gina Arnold and Janelle Banks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brisa Torres.
Hello, my name is Brisa Torres. I'm a cheerleader at Mount Diablo High School, and this is my first year doing cheer here. Not only has this sport helped me gain confidence, but now I have an amazing coach and wonderful girls around me to support me. Not only are we as physically and emotionally pushed as other sports, but we follow the same academic rules. Yet our district does not fund us. We are aware of other schools around us getting funded while ours are not, which is very unfair. I hope this can come up in a conversation, hoping this will help more girls try out who don't have the funds for it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Damaris Ramirez.
Say my name right. Okay. Hello, my name is Damaris Ramirez. I am a senior at Mount Diablo High School. I am also a part of the cheer team. I'm here to talk about the importance of supporting our sport equally to every other sport, especially cheerleading. Cheerleading is just as physical as any other sport, but the district does not give us funds for uniforms or for buses or for anything that we need. We are treated equally as every other sport. We constantly are being treated differently, like we are not appreciated at our own school. We understand that there's a lot of other schools that are being funded, but we deserve to be funded as well. Oh, sorry, excuse me. We just wanted you to understand and help us, and we want you to have a conversation about this because not only are we not the only cheer team being funded, but there's plenty of more that are not. I have been on this team for 4 years, and I am a senior, so I will be gone next year. But I am also here to speak on for every other person who wants to join this team and any other sport who deserve it because I hope I got what I wanted when I was a freshman. I wish I got the same opportunity as I have. So I want you guys to speak on it, to fund our team, to fund any other sport that deserves to be funded because I wish I got that. And I'm not just here to speak for myself for the past 4 years. I'm here to speak for the other people who are going to join this team in the future that I know they will. Thank you for your time. Now have a nice day.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Beth Dahl.
Hi, I'm a former deaf and hard of hearing teacher here at the district of 17 years, but that's not what I have come to share concerns about, although I'm floored at what I just heard. That is why I'm here has nothing to do with the reason I left. And the reason I left is no longer in this room, but she knows who I'm talking about. Okay. I have a beautiful stepson that graduated recently with honors from Concord High School. Recently, I was at a school board candidates forum held at a public school in our district on October 27th, one that was moderated by 2 PTA members. And newly elected board member McDougall said the following comment in front of the community, family members, educators, and most importantly, our children were present. He said, "We don't want Chinese or Indians overtaking our country." And he said this knowing full well that his opponent, May Patel, who the principal, when I spoke with him, didn't even know who she was. He knew full well that May Patel is of Indian descent. I was appalled by the comment as it was both racist and xenophobic. I was equally appalled that nobody moderating that forum spoke up at the inappropriateness of that comment, which could have easily been done by saying something simply to the effect of, "Mr. McDougall, that comment is not appropriate, and we are going to move forward in this forum and stay focused on the issues that matter." But no, that did not happen. No such comment was made pointing out the inappropriateness of that comment, nor was May Patel ever apologized to by the forum moderators or the principal. In fact, I'm aware that May Patel had sent 2 correspondences thanking those PTA members graciously for holding the forum, and she never even heard back. And this PTA chose not to respond, which I also find highly problematic as well as disrespectful. We have PBIS in place for our district, positive behavior interventions and supports. And that wasn't even modeled by the adults in front of these children during the forum at the xenophobic and racist comment was made. We also have a motto, see something, say something. Guess what? I saw something. I heard something. I'm saying something. Okay? Mr. McDougall, who apparently is not here tonight, although I'm sure he's listening, as most educated voters know, has never had children in this district. He chose to homeschool his children. He's now homeschooling children and 5 grandchildren entirely in a different county. He misrepresented himself on the ballot, referring to himself as an educator. Volunteering in prisons, proselytizing is not an educator. In my view, it's in being an indoctrinator. Nor is his experience at Cal State Hayward considered an educator.
Please wrap up
As
your
he did not
comment.
have a credential, being an educator requires an extensive education, credentialing, and multiple proficiency
Thank you for your
proficiency
comment.
tests. I will say one last thing. I'm going to say this. I left this district because I fought like hell to get what Wendy Agili had closed down at the Concord High School, the deaf program. To come in here now after I left 3 years ago, that you closed down the middle school, you haven't heard the end of it. And if I have to start a recall effort for McDougall, I will be the first to spearhead it, and y'all have no idea the clout that I have.
Our next speaker is Charlie Yolenti. Charlie Yolenti. Maybe in the lobby. Okay. You're welcome to pick up the microphone too.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I know her. She doesn't like to be touched, but I'll be here protectively. You forgot? Well, read your message. Be kind. Be kind. We're proud of you for coming up here anyway, okay?
Thank you.
Good job, sweetheart. What a mama. Got you. Good job.
Our next speaker is Meredith Yolenti.
Fine. Hello, my name is Meredith. Oh, I should do that. I was more worried about my daughter being heard. My name is Meredith Yolenti, and I was a teacher for the district until I had my daughter, and then I became a substitute for the district, and I'm also the parent of Charlie right over there who just spoke, who's in 3rd grade at Bancroft Elementary. And I wanted to start out with a shout out to Mount Diablo teachers for teaching something very important and very basic for the continuation of our society. Education is a big investment in our society, and that is teaching kindness. I think that's important for society to work, that we're kind to each other. And my master teacher, Elizabeth Swanson, she said the most important thing you can come out of kindergarten with is being kind. And I think that's true. I think our teachers model that every day. I see some Bancroft teachers here. They hear the same question 30 times and they respond with kindness because they model the behaviors that they're wishing to teach the children. The comments that I heard Mr. Frugal say are not kind. That is not modeling kindness. I'm very worried. I'd like to know what you guys think about his statements. We can't let what we need to not let take over our country is hatred and intolerance. My daughter's goes to Bancroft Elementary. She goes to her class. She's gotten to know kids with family backgrounds from all over the world, and she feels richer because of it. That's what she wanted to come up here and say, right, Charlie? Do you have friends that have backgrounds all over the world?
Also, my best friend is from Taiwan.
Yeah, your best friend is from Taiwan, and you have friends from all over and teachers from all over too, huh? Yeah, and we think her education is richer because of it. So we expect board members to model tolerance and inclusion and kindness. Yeah.
Thank you for your comment. Lauren Mercado.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lauren Mercado. I'm a school counselor at Northgate High School, and this is my 2nd year working for Mount Diablo Unified School District. For my students, I am the first counselor that came back the next year. That's just how high counselor turnover is in our district. Dr. Clark shared earlier standardized testing data, that's one slice of the pie. He also mentioned that it's his goal for all students to graduate college and career ready. For that college and career indicator on the state dashboard, there are 10 other ways that students can demonstrate readiness, including AP exams, A through G completion, CTE pathway completion, earning college credits, IB exams, leadership and military science, pre-apprenticeship programs, state and federal job programs like Job Corps, state seal of biliteracy, and work-based learning experience. Most of these indicators fall within the job description of a school counselor. in addition to other important roles on our campuses. The counselors are currently working hard to develop a comprehensive counseling program for our entire district. The model we're being given follows the American School Counseling Association recommendation of a ratio of 250 students per one counselor. In our district, ratios are double, triple, and sometimes quadruple that recommendation. Couple this with low pay comparatively, as Mr. Penovich spoke about before. This is why good counselors are leaving our district. Our students do deserve the best. They deserve the best teachers. They deserve the best counselors. The way to retain people who best support our student needs, and yes, get that college and career indicator higher, is to pay us what we're worth, because otherwise we will find our worth in other school districts. And that will mean that the revolving door of counselors will continue, that hopefully students at our schools won't have to see that, because otherwise we won't be able to establish that rapport. We won't be able to get to know all of our students and their life goals and what they want to do after high school, and therefore will not be able to get to 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Cora Mitchell.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to speak as a parent in this district. This is my 8th year as a parent in this district. I've also been a PAC committee member for most of those years, and I want to talk a little bit about my most recent experience. This year, the most requested topic to be discussed at PAC was libraries. We are appointed representatives for our school sites to bring the issues that are important to us at the site level. And again, it was requested more than any other topic. When that topic wasn't on the list of topics to be discussed for the year, the question was posed, why not? And we were told that libraries are not an academic tool. Does not seem to coincide with what the IB program says about libraries. They are a requirement of the program. I think most colleges would probably differ with that opinion, that libraries are not an important instructional tool. But then it was followed with the recommendation that the best thing that we can do for our kids is to have them read for 20 minutes a night, agreed, but also have shelves of books available in our home for our students, which to me sounds a lot like what? A library. We should all have a library at home instead of having one at school. Now, what does this mean for students who live in their car? We've talked a lot about these students who don't have a steady home. They're living in foster homes or couch surfing. Their accessibility to an at-home library is pretty limited. And with the removal of libraries, it's limited at the school site as well. So I was very disheartened to hear that, number one, we're not going to be discussing it because apparently it's not an academic tool. But regardless of that, it is still a number one requested topic by parents at the Parent Advisory Committee, not the District Advisory Committee, the Parent Advisory Committee. Parents want to know what's going on with the library. We could have been told we're taking them out, but we weren't. So then to hear that the library at College Park is being shuttered, that the books are being given away, they're essentially removing the library from the site, is very, very concerning to parents in this district. And I hope that you see the election of Frugal McDougal as a sign that parents are pushing for something different than the direction that it's currently going, as scary as that is. But we have to start doing something different, because the pathway that we're on right now isn't the pathway that parents want to go, and it's not helping our students. I would really appreciate some concrete feedback about what is happening with the libraries. It's what parents want to know about. You heard a teacher talk about it today. There's plenty of research that tells us the benefits of libraries in a school district for all students, but especially those with the least resources. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Cora. Okay, so we move to 9.0 communications. Do we have a speaker? Okay. All right, so first we have Leah O'Kelly from CST.
Good evening, Dr. Clark and esteemed board. My name is Leah O'Kelly. I'm a child welfare and attendance liaison, and I've been with the district for 24 years. I am starting my first year as the CST first VP. This is Leticia Casada, and she's second VP. We are here to discuss two issues that have been brought to our attention that we think is important enough to bring to yours. One is the HVAC units at 13 schools and work sites. We understand that we are trying to transition to a centralized system, but we have it's unsafe for our students and our staff. They're wearing hats, scarves, gloves at work, bringing in their own space heaters. We need to do better for our staff and for our students. The second issue is CST retiree substitutes. Our understanding is that when CST represented employees sign their personnel action form to finalize the retirement, it is slated next to the signature line, quote, subannuant paid at step retired from for that range, or if working below retiree range, paid at retired step of that range. If working above range, paid 5% higher. We are still in the process of gathering some of those PAs. I have one copy. There is an internal memo that you heard of this evening from HR that was dated August 28th, 2024 in regard to MDUSD classified employees that states that, quote, if someone is substituting in a position they did not retire from, they will be paid at step 1 of that position. There was no notice given to these substitute employees of the change in pay and working conditions, and as we understand, this is a violation of state law. We understand that we as CST do not represent our substitute employees, but we definitely believe that the district needs to follow the law and support them. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Linda Ortega, president of Medea.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Clark, members of the audience. First of all, I want to thank my Medea members who came out tonight. I know this is a school night, but they needed to tell you their own stories and what they're experiencing, as I have been telling you all these months. I'm glad they came because you also needed to hear it from them. I feel like I'm in the middle of a Groundhog Day movie where I come to you with the same issues and nothing gets resolved. As of today, we have received over 70 adverse working condition forms with very few that have been resolved. Before this week, our classrooms had been too hot, but now the classrooms are too cold, as many people have spoken. And it's not just affecting our own classrooms, but other staff members. This is not acceptable. How are our students expected to learn when they are either too hot or too cold? As you know, every site and every classroom is different, and yet our members are given instructions to try to figure out how to adjust the thermostats. So I brought you copies. Here is an example of the instructions that they were sent out just yesterday to some of our teachers. They are expected to figure out how to do this when they should be teaching. Why is it taking so long to share this information? And from the many emails I've read today, and I consider myself a very upbeat person, I was very depressed today because I was reading all of these adverse working conditions and the lack of resolve. I don't see anything being fixed. Again, this is just not acceptable to expect our students to learn in this environment. In regard to the 3 schools undergoing renovations, I have not received any updates other than our teachers showed me and shared with me that they were told to embrace the new 21st century furniture. Furniture should be functional and appropriate in order to support the age and grade level of our students. Pretty is not a word that should be used to describe a classroom furniture. Our members at these 3 sites have been requesting to be part of the discussion. Unfortunately, they have been told what they will be getting. This is not what collaboration looks like. And Dr. Clark, I do appreciate your when you gave test scores. And I just wanted to share with you a personal story for myself in regards to the test scores. Not everything is recorded. In my school site, I was the only Spanish speaking teacher. I would often get the newcomers. And because they didn't speak English, I got them from zero, the level 0, to maybe kindergarten level or first grade. But I taught second grade. Is that recorded? That was progress, but it's not recorded. Many of our teachers spend many hours working with those students, and that's not recorded. Our counselor spoke about it, things that are not recorded. Data is data, and it's skewed anyway, whoever wants to read it. But we have a lot of hardworking teachers who spend hours and hours getting our students prepared for tests and making those progress. I appreciate the understanding that you've said that we should provide more reserves or more resources to help our students achieve those positive goals and outcomes. We do. Medea does. My members, all of us want to work together to achieve what's best for our students and educators, and we need to support each other. Finally, I want to thank the 2 first grade classrooms that I had the privilege of visiting and reading to the students on Halloween. It is always a joy to see smiling and happy faces. I get my joy from my students, and you know this. I want to let all my Medea members know that you are doing a great job, and I appreciate the work that you do each and every day to support our students. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to 10.0, recognitions and resolutions. Dr. Clark?
So I have before you Resolution 24/25-32, second revision of regular board meetings for 2024 calendar year. So I'll just read the opening paragraph. Actually, if I read the opening paragraph, it's probably going to confuse folks. So I'm just going to go to the last statement that says the date of the December 2024 board meeting is changed from December 11th, 2024 to December 18th, 2024. So we will not have a meeting on the 11th. Instead, we will have that meeting on December 18th. This item is now in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 24/25-32, second revision of the regular board meeting for the 2024 calendar year.
Second.
A motion by Trustee Mason and a second by Trustee Mayo. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
Are we voting on this item? It looks like it might be information only. Do we need to vote on it? Yeah.
Oh, it's information? Okay.
Okay. Well, we were on board, so seems like mostly.
There we go.
Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
Was
We
that-
need to do a voice vote?
Trustee Count?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. So that motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Thank you. Madam President, our next item is Resolution 24/25-33 to authorize local assignment options. I see Mr. Sheehy coming up, so I'll let him take this item.
Thank you. The local assignment option allows the board to assign any employee holding a valid teaching credential to teach with their consent a single subject class in which he or she has 18 semester units of coursework or 9 upper division or graduate coursework of multiple subject class if they hold at least 60 units equally distributed among those areas. And so with that, I leave this in your hands.
Madam President, I move that we approve Resolution 24-2533, local assignment.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mayo and a second by trustee Nzewi. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Right. The next item is the review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2425-34 for personnel with variable term waivers. And variable term waivers provide applicants with additional time to complete certain requirements for their credential that authorizes their service. And so for this, we do have one individual that needs some additional time.
I move to approve Resolution 245/25-34 for variable term limits.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mason and the second by trustee Cowan. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Right. The next item is 10.4, review and potential approval for Board Resolution 2425-35 for personnel with provisional internship permits. So the CTC is no longer issuing emergency permits. However, the commission replaced the emergency permit with a provisional internship permit, otherwise known as the PIP, which provides applicants additional time to meet their subject matter competence requirement to enter before they enter into an internship program. And so the district may request a PIP only after they've searched for a fully credentialed teacher, which we have. And so for this, we do have one teacher.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 2425-35, provisional internship permits.
Second.
Motion by trustee Cowan and a second by trustee Nzewi. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Okay. So this moves us on. I know we had some changes in the agenda.
All right. Yes, so Madam President, I have before you item 11.1. This is this item was in consent. I moved it over to appointments. But what this is we had to update the job description, and there's a clean version here of the Director of Strategic Supports and Interventions. And so we are seeking approval for this position. For this updated job description.
Madam President, I move to approve the revised job description for Certificated Director of Strategic Supports and Interventions.
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Cowan and a second by trustee Mason. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Madam President, I bring before you an updated salary schedule for management and essentially our CBO salary schedule. This is not an adjustment to our to the CBO's current salary. We're just updating the salary schedule, and so you have an updated salary schedule for the CBO for any future CBO because our current CBO is on a contract.
I move to approve the. Oh, I know. Like you were saying that.
Go away. I'm sorry.
You were saying it was the, okay, thank you.
okay.
Yeah. I move to approve the new salary schedule for the chief business officer.
Second.
Motion by trustee Nzewi and a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one more job description to bring forward, and this is the updated job description of the Executive Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. This updated job description is designed to support the department's current needs, enabling us to more effectively address the needs of our employees and bargaining units. With that said, I ask for request approval on this job description.
Madam President,
I move to approve the revised job description of Executive Director of Human Resources and Risk Management.
second.
That's a motion by trustee Mason and a second by trustee Cound. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Thank you, Madam President. We now are very excited to have our public employee appointment. Can I please have Ms. Viana please come to the mic and present this item?
Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Clark. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval for the appointment of Linda Pete as the Director of Strategic Supports and Interventions. Working in the field of education has been a rewarding experience for Linda. Linda finds it so joyous to encounter former students and parents and hear their stories and success. The conversations and their stories give Linda motivation to continue her work as an educator, despite the challenges faced in our world today. Linda holds her bachelor's degree in history, a master's degree in education with an emphasis on curriculum and instruction, and a master's degree in education with an emphasis on administration and policy analysis. Linda has spent her life trying to help students see their gifts and provide hope that change can happen and that change is coming. With that, I leave the appointment in the hands of the board.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the appointment of Linda Pete as the Director of Strategic Supports and Interventions.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mason and a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board President, and board members in Mount Diablo community. Thank you so much for this opportunity to continue to serve the students in Mount Diablo Unified School District in this new position as the Director of Strategic Intervention and Supports. Thank you.
Will you please introduce your
Yes.
your folks back there?
With me tonight is my family, my husband Gilbert, my mother-in-law Inez, and one of my daughters, Anaya. I also want to thank my Mount Diablo community, most of the back row and all over. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. The next item or this item?
11.5 and 11.6.
So I'm gonna have 11.4. I'm gonna have Ms. Viana again. Oh, I'm sorry, 11.5.
Hello again, that one? We're going for.
Yeah, go ahead and present it. We'll do the public comment after you present.
The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval for the appointment of Ryan Sheehy as the interim Chief of Human Resources. Ryan began his career with the Mount Diablo Unified School District in 2006 as a teacher. Ryan has taught at the elementary, middle, and the high school levels. Ryan was a vice principal at Concord High School before becoming principal at Highlands Elementary School, where he participated on the negotiation team during the pandemic. Ryan was then named Director of Human Resources before assuming the current position as Executive Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. Ryan holds both a bachelor's and a master's degree in kinesiology, with his graduate studies focused on education. When not at work, Ryan enjoys spending time with his wife and family. Ryan has 4 children who all attend Mount Diablo Unified Schools. With that, I leave the appointment in the hands of the board.
Thanks. We'll do our public comment.
Dan Reynolds.
Thank you. The wording on this agenda item under fiscal impact says no change to existing budget. I am intrigued and curious about this because you are already employing a chief of human resources who is on leave until the end of the year. And we haven't heard that that is an unpaid leave. So I assume you're still paying that person. And if you are paying that person and this person to do the same job, that sounds to me like it would have an impact on your budget. I would hope that the community would hear from the district that no, you're not paying 2 people to do the same job. I would hope that you know the answer to that before I have to bring it up, because I would hope that somebody talked to you about the fact of whether or not they're paying 2 people to do the same job, especially when you consider this is $250,000 a year.
Not responding. You have a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the certificated personnel appointment of Interim Chief of Human Resources, Ryan Sheehy.
Second.
Motion by trustee Count and a second by trustee Nzewi. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Aye.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Thank you, Board of Trustees. I take this new position with great responsibility and great joy. I've enjoyed the work that we've done here the past 4.5 years with me in human resources, and I look forward to continuing the work and building the positive relationships with our bargaining units and every employee to better serve our employees to ensure that each one of our students are learning each and every day. I want to thank everyone on our MDUSD team who has helped me and taught me to make me ready for this position. And I thoroughly am excited and overjoyed to accept this position and move the district forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to introduce? Yeah. Okay.
After sports and long days at work, but I want to thank my family if they're
Yes,
watching.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, good. Trying to keep you out of trouble now, so, okay. That's fine. All right. Let's go to the next item. We have 11.6.
Yes.
Do we have do we have a comment for this?
We do, from Dan Reynolds.
Thank you. Curious to know again here whether these are new positions or positions shuffling around and where the district is choosing to spend its money. The approval of the job description for this, which was moved from later in the agenda, would have liked to have mentioned at that one too, that it appeared from the red line version that was published with the agenda that the only thing you changed was to make this job available to someone who doesn't have experience. That what it said before was to fill this job, you had to be in HR for 3 to 5 years, but now all it takes is 1 to 3. So you have changed the job description to allow somebody specific with less experience to fill this job, and it is another $200,000 plus a year job. It is curious that all of these changes in HR are happening when you have a very top-heavy HR department that is very recent. You did not used to have this many chiefs or executive directors or executive interim chief director, human resource risk management executive director chiefs.
Thank you. Now we're going to have Mr. Sheehy present this item.
Thank you. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Kimberly Viana as the Executive Director, Human Resources and Risk Management. Kimberly's objective is to continue contributing to the Mount Diablo Unified School District, specifically by supporting the district's LCAP goals and initiatives through the Human Resources Department. She is dedicated to assisting all staff, both certificated and classified, as they work to create positive, inclusive, and supportive learning environments for all students. Kimberly is committed to the continuous improvement of systems and processes, working collaboratively to enhance the structures that support our district's mission. Kimberly holds a bachelor's degree in social science and a master's degree focused on social emotional learning. Kimberly is devoted to both her family and the community and believes in order to do good work, you must be invested in the totality of it. Kimberly was raised in the Bay Area, raised her children in the East Bay, and now is a very proud Nana. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I move to approve the certificated personnel appointment of Executive Director, Human Resources and Risk Management. Why am I blanking? Kimberly Viana. Thank you.
Second.
Motion by trustee Count and a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the board and Superintendent Clark, as well as like everyone in the audience. I have my husband here who supports me and makes it possible for me to do all this hard work, as well as all of the different teams across the district, both classified and certificated, that I have the opportunity to work with and really support our students. That is the whole sole purpose of us being here. So I am honored and privileged to do this work. So thank you very much.
So item 11.8, we have the amendment, potential approval of amendment to the employment agreement for Adrian Vargas, our Chief Business Officer, and I'll have Ms. Viana. Oh, we have. Oh, what number? What 11.7? Sorry about that. Come on. Yes. Computer's moving quick.
Hello again. Okay. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval for the appointment of Jaylani Cortez as the Operational Program Specialist, African American Student Achievement. Jaylani comes to MDUSD as an educator with over 23 years of experience in intervention, literacy, coaching, teaching, administration, and working with VAPA programming. Jaylani holds a bachelor's degree in business management and a master's degree in secondary education. Outside of work, Jaylani is busy as a mother. Let's try this all over again. Jaylani is busy as a mother of 3 sons. In addition, she loves swimming and gardening. And with that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I move that the board approve Jaylani Cortez as, I'm sorry, lost the agenda.
Operational Program Specialist.
Operational Program Specialist, African American Student Achievement.
Second.
Was worthy of saying.
Motion by trustee Mayo and a second by trustee Mason. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Superintendent Dr. Clark, Board President, and esteemed board members for this immense honor of being appointed to represent our district and support our focal school Scholar Program. I'm deeply humbled by your trust and excited to dedicate myself to advocating for the needs of our students and community here in Mount Diablo District. I pledge to listen attentively, work tirelessly, and collaborate with all key stakeholders to ensure our district thrives. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is a review and potential approval of the amendment of the employment agreement for Adrian Vargas as Chief Business Officer for Mount Diablo Unified School District for the 3-year term, 24-25 through 26-27 school years. This item is for the board to consider approving an amendment to the employment agreement with Adrian Vargas, Chief Business Officer. This amendment governs a contract which commenced on July 1st, 2024 and concludes on June 30th, 2027. This amendment clarifies the parties' agreement that the Chief Business Officer is waiving Education Code 45197, the annual vacations. The base salary is based on the positive work calendar of 219 days. The salary placement of Adrian Vargas is step 1 on the 2024-2025 annual classified senior management salary schedule for Chief Business Officer with an annual salary of $234,440. This is not a change in salary, but it is a waiver of vacation and placement on a schedule. With that, I leave this in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the amendment to the employment agreement for the Chief Business Official Adrian Vargas through the 2026-27 school year.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mason and a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. So I just want to just take a moment and just thank our new designated team. We have lots of work ahead of us as usual, but the team is definitely up for it. You gonna let your husband escape now? Yes, he was better. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Pete family. Yeah. Look at that. So this next item, I just as I talked about test scores earlier, and as we think about the social, emotional, mental health, as we just think about our student well-being in our district, there's many things that we can always point to. We always point to teachers, right? And then we point to principals, and then we point to office managers and things to that nature. But groups that are often overlooked would be, I would say, our custodial staff and our cafeteria staff. We are so fortunate to have Alex Emmett as our director of food service. She is well respected in the profession, and she is bringing the latest and greatest to our students each and every day here in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. So I know that this presentation is going to be on like redesigns and things like that, but I just cannot acknowledge the work that she's doing and really providing our students with the foundation for them to be successful, and that is a healthy meal, whether for breakfast or whether for lunch. So I hope I didn't take what you were going to say. Is that what you were going to say there, Mr.
I was
Vargas?
just thinking, like, why did I walk up here?
Okay.
But, all I can add is I would say all the same things that Dr. Clark shared, but he kind of stole my thunder. So, but I wanted to introduce Alex Emmett, who's the director of Food and Nutrition Services, and she's going to do a presentation on the upgrades of what we're doing with our serving areas. For me, when she first shared this with me in our one-on-one check-ins, I was just like, wow, like when you probably already saw the PowerPoint, but we need to share what we're doing out there. So, Alex.
Good evening, Superintendent Clark and honorable school board members.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. This evening, I'm planning to provide an introduction to some exciting work that we have planned to pilot really transforming the student dining experience at Mount Diablo. We'll start out with an introduction to our department's vision, mission, goals, and core values, just to ground us in the conversation. And then we'll discuss the project at hand, the schools, and the approximate timeline. So first, a little bit about our departments. In October 2024, we actually crossed 25,000 meals per day for the first time. So in October, we served an average of 25,560 meals every school day. This work is carried out by over 180 dining staff at over 55 schools and programs across the district. Last year we served over 4 million meals, so 4,094,100 meals in total, which is about 350,000 meals more than we served during the 22-23 school year. We primarily serve breakfast and lunch through the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program, but we also serve after-school meals in partnership with the CARES program. We have these at 24 schools across the district and actually launched 6 new programs in the last year. The suppers are served through the Child and Adult Care Food Program. So clearly there's a huge student demand for nourishing school meals here in Mount Diablo and across the nation. So last year, my team worked together to develop a clear mission and vision for our department to ground our work and set our priorities. Our mission is easy. It's what we do every day. So every day we nourish students for academic success. Our vision is our North Star. It's where we want to be as a department in the next 10 to 15 years. Simply put, this is what we're working towards. So our vision is Food and Nutrition Services is an industry leader with a thriving and positive team that serves our students delicious, diverse, scratch-cooked, locally sourced meals in modern and efficient facilities while embodying the values of equity, sustainability, collaboration, and innovation. Our team also has 5 core values. These are what must be honored as we pursue our vision. They are 1, great food, so scratch cooking, local sustainable procurement. 2, a world-class student experience, excellent food presentation, modernized, dignified facilities. 3, fiscal responsibility and sustainability and waste reduction. 4, a positive team culture, professional, collaborative, and supportive teams, robust staff training, and growth mindsets. And then 5, diversity, equity, and inclusion, including universal meals and cultural responsiveness and relevance. We also have 5 goals. These are the specific action steps we will take over the next 10 to 15 years to achieve our vision. So our goals are 1, transform facilities at the schools and the central kitchen to have modernized, efficient equipment that allows scratch cooking to scale and also creates dignified built environments for students and staff. 2, increase scratch cooking at all sites by, again, investing in facilities and staff and leveraging the central kitchen. 3, invest in our teams by increasing full-time benefited positions, increasing hiring, especially of historically disadvantaged groups. And 3, creating a robust staff training program and career growth opportunities for all employees. Our 4th goal is to invest in the local economy by doubling our procurement of foods from local, BIPOC-owned, and small, medium family businesses and farms. Our 5th goal is to reduce waste and improve the student experience by implementing compostable packaging and utensils and reducing packaging wherever possible. So you can see from our mission, vision, goals, and values that working on facilities and the student experience are really key to our success over the next few years. Hopefully you also saw MD USD's LCAP goals reflected in this work too, particularly goal 1 and 2, which prioritize safe, welcoming, and engaging environments for our students. This evening's presentation will outline specific plans FNS has to pilot transforming the dining experience for students at a cohort of 12 initial sites. The presentation is informative for a future consent item to approve the purchase order for the redesign work. And also just note that the Board of Education already approved the purchase of the serving lines discussed in tonight's presentation in February of last school year. All right, so let's start with the current situation. These are a couple of examples of our more outdated serving lines that we have. On the left here is Fair Oaks Elementary. So this is one of 3 schools across the district that serves out of a roll-up window in the MU. We also have these at Strandwood and El Monte. This is pretty challenging for our students. Not a lot of meals fit there. It's hard to see what the options are. It's hard to have choice. It's also pretty difficult for our staff, again, because you can't fit a lot of meals on the window and there's no ability to hold the meals hot or cold there, right? So they're relying on warmers behind the lines and fridges behind the lines, and they're having to transfer meals back and forth all the time through the serving line. I think you can also see from the picture that, it's not the best experience for students. It's pretty institutional feeling and a little cold with those kind of roll up gated windows there. And then on the right, you can see this is El Dorado Middle School. This is called a speed line. So the best way I can describe this is it's kind of like the reach-in freezers that you might have seen at the supermarket, but a hot version of that essentially. And so what the staff have to do there is put metal baskets on the bottom of the unit because you can't put food on the bottom of the unit. It gets too hot and it'll burn. And they also have to pre-wrap everything, right? So it's a ton of extra packaging and it's a lot of labor to do all of that. You know, I think also with the El Dorado example, you can see that this kind of adds a little bit to that like mystery school food thing that nobody likes, right? Because, even though we use clear lids on containers, they get foggy during service. And, we have signs to differentiate the different entrees. But, I'm sure you've seen lunch at a middle school, right? Things get switched around. And so it's just really not ideal. Okay, shifting gears, here are some updated serving lines. So these pictures are from Valley View Middle School, which had its kitchen modernized thanks to bond funding and reopened in August. And then also at Diablo View Middle School. Diablo View just got a new serving line, which was funded by the Food and Nutrition Services Department, and then M&O put in the new electrical required. Thank you. I think that we can agree that there's a really big difference. I think we can all agree that there's a big difference between the slides that we saw first and these slides. And what I want to point out here is it's not the food, actually, right? We have the same menu at all of the elementary schools across the district. The schools with the windows at the elementary level, they serve the same menu. We have the same menu at all the middle schools across the district. So the difference that you're seeing is really the student experience and the presentation, right? And I just want to ask you to think about your own experience for a minute, eating in a restaurant or in an institution, maybe in a college dining hall or in a hospital. We all eat with our eyes first. And I think in a high trust environment, you might be willing to overlook the way the kitchen or the dining room looks. But think about, somewhere new where you've never been before. How likely would you be willing to try the food, if the dining area or the cafeteria doesn't feel welcoming? In my experience, I've been in school nutrition for the past 13 years. I think the dining experience is an important part of how we build trust with our students and we get their buy-in. We're already making some pretty big investments in high quality food for our students. We're currently purchasing 60 to 70% of our produce organically. We have a lot of incredible menu items. We've got a lot of cultural diversity on the menu, options like adobo, poke bowls, pozole, and much more. And if we want to ensure that our students take advantage of all of these healthy, fresh, and delicious and no-cost school meals, we need to make sure that they want to come into the cafeteria and they want to eat. Plus, of course, the way that our funding works, the more students who come in and eat with us, the more federal and state dollars come into the program, and the more we can reinvest in great food, great facilities, great equipment, and our staff. So it's kind of one of those win-wins, right? All right, so let's take a look at some of our specific plans. These next slides are all excerpts from the design books at several of the schools where we have slated for the redesigns. So this is an excerpt from the design book for Gregory Gardens Elementary. You can see the picture on the right is the current serving line. They have this like trellis that's seen better days over top of their serving line. And the serving line also currently overlooks like an old dish room that's kind of been converted into an office for the school lead there. So this is the plan to redesign into the Gator Cafe. It's super cute. We have this amazing fruit-loving gator mascot. And this is just one angle of it, so it extends out into the multi-use room. And you can see that we also have a new line scheduled for Gregory Gardens here. This one here is from Meadow Homes Elementary. You can see at Meadow Homes, we're actually keeping the existing serving lines, which are in relatively good condition, but we're adding all this fun wall decor and paint to transform the serving area into a multicolored festive space that honors the cultural diversity of that school. This one is an example of Bancroft Elementary. It's called the Bobcat Bistro. It'll transform the serving line into this treehouse themed experience with tons of fresh produce peeking out from all the leaves. And again, we're using the existing serving line at Bancroft. This one is hot off the press. This is the newest one. It's from Rio Vista. It's a peek at the existing exciting plans to transform the Rio Vista MU into the Rocket Cafe, complete with fruit and vegetable planets. And I have a second picture here because I really like the ceiling work there. All right, moving into our secondary sites. This here is Pleasant Hill Middle School, which will be transformed into a modernized kind of farmer's market feeling dining space. Features plenty of the school colors and dark wood accents for this really cozy and welcoming space. And then here's another angle here. This one is Northgate Cafe. So at Northgate High School, it's the only high school that we don't have a designated cafeteria space. So we're working with them to transform the atrium into a dining area for students and then branding the serving area as the Northgate Cafe. And Ms. Cooper over at Northgate actually put it out to the students for a vote for 2 possible facades, and this is the one that they chose. This is a look at the inside of the Northgate serving line, which again, it's those like warm wood accents, paint and lighting, transforms the space into a really cozy and welcoming space for students. And then one final example, this one is Diablo View Middle School. Diablo View, we're building on the existing black and white tile to kind of give it this like vintage diner effect. We don't want to take out the tile, that's too expensive. But it uses the school colors to bring this really whimsical, fun, and kind of intriguing serving line area for the students there. All right, so I hope the preceding slides gave you a window into this exciting work we have planned this year. I do just want to talk a little bit about the specifics and the timeline that you can see here. These are for our elementary sites. Again, I want to reiterate that these are our pilot sites. So we selected schools for a variety of reasons so that we can learn about the process, the time commitment, and the cost for all this work, with the ultimate goal of expanding to all of the district schools, okay? These are the elementary schools at which we're proposing this work. So you can see on the left-hand side are sites where we're proposing redesigns, and then on the right-hand side are the sites that are getting the new serving lines, and there's some overlap. And I just wanted to note that the 3 sites I called out earlier that are currently serving through a roll-up window are all scheduled to get new serving lines this school year, which will both improve the student experience and then also the food safety at those sites and the food quality. This is our timeline for our secondary sites and the proposed sites. Again, I mentioned Northgate is our only high school without a cafeteria space. Diablo View, Pleasant Hill, and El Dorado, those are the 3 sites that have the only 3 sites that have the speed lines. So we're replacing those, again, to improve the student experience, the food quality, and the food safety. Thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to highlight this exciting work, and I thank you for your support. Questions or? Okay. The Gator Cafe. Everything is cafe because that's.
You know those roll-up windows?
Yeah.
That was the dishwasher back in the day. You threw your trays in there and there was a kid back there wash them.
That's why there's 2. One is out and one is in. Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know. I just want to say thank you so much. You were saying, think about your own experiences, and I know that, my kids are almost done with high school now, but when they were just starting school, I would go, see what was at the cafeteria and decide that we were just going to bring our food every day. And that was just kind of the plan, right? And to go from that to like the sort of soggy bags of burritos or whatever, right? To what we have now is just so incredible. And I love the direction that you and your whole team are going in terms of the healthier food, the organic, the culturally responsive, because we do have so many different dietary needs and things like that as well that I know you've been responsive to. But also this whole thing about they do have to come into the cafeteria. I do know I've experienced it as a parent at some schools talking to students who are hungry, and I'm like, there's a cafeteria with free food right there, and they go to like the wellness center and find snacks there that were somebody fundraised for, as opposed to going to the cafeteria. So it really does make a big difference when they feel like they can actually walk in and want to be there. So I appreciate your efforts on that, along that line as well. Thanks.
And I also want to thank you for this really thoughtful presentation. I really appreciated the images kind of what our different school cafeterias could look like. And I just think this is really important to students. And I just really appreciate the thoughtfulness that was put into kind of designing the ideas for each site. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I also want to say that the school principals at all the schools except for Rio Vista, because it's hot off the press, have had a chance to have input and gather input from their school communities. So that's been really valuable.
I expect that your staff is excited to work in these new kitchens. I hope there's some enthusiasm that will retain employees, and because we all know that the cafeteria ladies have a reputation and being special to all of our students. So I know that's it's a wonderful term when you hear a student express it in a positive manner. So I'm excited for our employees as they're working in these kitchens.
Absolutely. A lot of times the cafeteria staff are one of the only people in the school that see all the students every day, right? So they know a lot about our kids. And I'll say, our dining staff were super excited about this work. But we've also invested a lot in, the basics around like new ovens and new refrigerators and that kind of thing. And if you want to make the cafeteria staff happy, replace like a 30-year-old oven and they will love you forever. Yeah.
I had one. Yeah, I was trying to go. I know. Thank you so much. Excellent presentation and excellent work. When we moved into the district, I came from a district that was a trailblazing child nutrition with all of with scratch made, locally sourced, organic, blah de blah, really creative menu. And then we came here and my daughter stopped eating lunch at school. And this reminds me of what we left. And so I've noticed, as I noticed like on social media, the meals that are shared, it's exciting to see how inclusive it is. It's exciting to see how through food, we're living our values as a district, that we all have people brought up in public comment earlier, I think maybe not realizing who we are and what we've done. And so this is a really concrete example. And also to the, it's so important. Like the way things look is so important. like our schools are ugly. Like that's just the bottom line, that they're original, they're vintage everywhere. And so getting to do what we can to make the school actually look nice, without tearing it down and rebuilding it to being a modernized school that you see in other newer communities, I think goes a long way to making everyone happy to be a part of that school community. So this is really exciting. Thank you.
Thank
I believe the term is mid-century. They say.
Mid-century vintage.
They're quirky, they're rustic.
Some of them are before mid-century, so because I like mid-century architecture and whatnot.
Okay, My kids go to Oakland Unified, so trust me, we got some nice facilities here.
It's where we came from for
Yeah.
our food, and it was so different. There were no salad bars here. There was, yeah, it was so different.
Well, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
So we're next on the agenda. We have a presentation from our multilingual team, and I just want to I want to recognize Catherine Fireman. Just a couple years ago, we met in my office, and she was talking about the need for a newcomers program, and that our current system wasn't working. And so today, as I was over at Olympic meeting with our student trustee, when we were done, I went over to the newcomers classroom and spent some time in there. And when I left, almost every kid in the class shook my hand. Even though I couldn't communicate with them, I don't speak Spanish or any other languages besides English, but they were appreciative. And not only that, they were being taught a lesson. You know, we have the human trafficking curriculum that we're rolling out to our students, and so there was a social work specialist who was in there teaching the lesson in Spanish. And these young people were very attentive. And I just wanted to I knew Catherine was coming tonight to do this presentation, but I just appreciate creating that safe space for students. Regardless of what the need is, if there's a need, we're going to adjust to what that need is. And so, so anyway, just wanted to give you guys kudos for that. And Catherine and Citra are going to do this presentation. So this is our multilingual leadership. This is the department right here. So yes, yes.
Good evening, Dr. Clark. Thank you for having us, a board of trustees. We're really excited to Chitra and I are here to just give a little glimpse of the work that we're doing to just make sure that everybody is up to date on who we're serving. We were in the hall because we had a packed place this evening listening to the data that Dr. Clark was sharing. And every time we see data, I think for Chitra as well, I'm looking at that English learner data, and we have a lot of work to do, a lot of good work. Can you hear me? And so we are really excited to be doing this work, and there's a lot of good work to do. And there are a lot of people in our department who aren't here tonight who also share this work with us. So we are going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about our department. So we use an assets-based vision. And so you see the three pillars. This is really what centers the work that we do. We are focused on having high academic achievement, bilingualism and biliteracy, and a sociocultural competency. I love that we just came after the fact that even our food services is going to be more culturally relevant to our students. We are really working to ensure that Mount Diablo Unified School District not only has an asset-based attitude towards families and students from all over, but it also builds a globalism for students who may speak only English and, feel that they are very kind of American-centric and don't know as much about other cultures. And so it goes both ways, which is really powerful for all of our students. So our department vision is to inform and inspire our students and families' cultural, racial, and linguistic assets by providing high-quality instruction for all, essential for multilingual learning students, grounded in the English language development framework. And Chitra is going to talk a little bit more about that. We feel like these three pillars are very aligned with the LCAP goals that we hear regularly. And specifically tonight, we're kind of honing in on LCAP goal 4. That's kind of where our department, like we're all the goals, but we really highlight and amplify goal 4. So I'm not going to read it because I'm sure you guys have it all memorized. But we just wanted to talk a little bit about why we use the word multilingual. You guys know that that's a new name for our department instead of the English learner department. The word multilingual is really an asset-based way of looking at our students. And not only our students who are learning English, multilingual learners in this category, we also have many students who are English dominant and learning other languages. And we also have students who speak other languages at home, but aren't considered compliance way English learners. So this is much more encompassing of many of the students. I believe we have 40% of students who speak another language at home, whether they're considered a quote unquote English learner, again, compliance language, or not. So the multilingual learner term is much more inclusive and asset-based. And as you see, we think that being multilingual is a superpower. And hopefully more and more students will become multilingual as we hope to expand some of our language offerings. And Chitra will also talk a little bit about that. So we just wanted to update. I know if you had been at our DLAC meeting in October, I did actually update these numbers since then, but this is just an interesting list just to kind of orient ourselves to the languages. The top 10 languages, there are over 50 languages spoken in the Mount Diablo Unified School District from our students, which is really exciting. We get excited about languages. You see, I'm not going to read through them all, but that our largest language spoken by our students is still Spanish by a large percentage. And then next would be the Farsi and Dari. And then you can read those other languages. Pashto, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin, Tagalog, Vietnamese, Portuguese, and Punjabi. And there are a lot more, but those are the top 10. And then the next slide, I always think this is interesting. So again, you saw this if you were at our last DLAC, but this list of the top 10 are the countries where our students were born if they were not born in the United States. So these numbers look really different than these numbers. Because if you look at the top number of our Spanish speakers, that's 4,397 students. And if you look at this slide, Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Peru, Colombia, and Nicaragua are probably mostly Spanish-speaking countries. The large, very, very large majority of our English learners, again, the compliance language of that, are born here in the United States. And so that's something that we really focus on because knowing that that is the case and that they're not necessarily newcomers like have come recently, we have a lot of work to do in our classrooms, in our schools, in our department to ensure that all of those students are reaching high levels of academic achievement. We did just want to have a shout out. I think possibly at the beginning of this meeting, there was a call out that November is Native American Heritage Month, but we did just want to name that we are, making sure that in our department, we always honor the various heritage months that come through the calendar, but that we have 573 students identified as American Indian or Alaskan Native, and that 55 of those students are qualified as the compliance language English learner. And that this group contributes valuable cultural heritage and perspectives, enriching our diverse and school communities. That was a larger number than I would have guessed. Okay, this slide, and I love working with my wife, my work wife here, Chitra. She was like, this slide is not as beautiful. And she's right, it's not. But the reason why I said, let's leave it, because I wanted you all to know that this is exactly what the slide looks like. And she did beautify it. She added the blue. So it is more beautiful than it was. And the yellow highlight around the box. But the reason why I thought it was important for you to see it in this way is because this is a screenshot of a program that you all approved 2 years ago called Elevation. So this is a really powerful tool that all of our teachers, all of our principals, all of our classified staff have access to. And so this screen is the view, it's called the I think it's the teacher view. But what's wonderful about all these different, they call them tiles, is that when you click on them, names of students pop up. So obviously these are large numbers because we're looking from my view, which is the district level. But if I were, let's say, a principal of Meadow Homes, I would see my 500 students and I'd see all the categories and I could click on that and find everything I need to know about any of those students. So we have data at our fingertips, really important data that we can make decisions, database decisions on. So anyway, by the numbers, and this was about a week ago, these numbers change daily. So we had to submit this to y'all a week ago. So it's a slight delay, but you can see we have 6,000 English learners in the whole throughout TK-12 in our district. And then there's 1,942 students that we RFEP monitor. That means that those students have reclassified, but we are required to monitor their progress for 4 years after reclassification. So in addition to the 6,000 students that we're working towards reclassification with, there are 1,900 kiddos that we continually monitor. And we're actually in monitoring season right now. And we use Elevation for that as well. The 1,154 number is our duly qualified students, meaning that they are multilingual learners and they also have an IEP. And so we work and we're continually to build our collaboration and bonds with the special education department because those students need to receive their English language development sometimes in the special realm, but also honing in on making sure that our IEPs are very specific to supporting those students.
You see the 1,800 number, those are newcomers. So newcomers is a group of students defined as being born outside of the United States, so that other slide with all the countries, and have been here in the US school system for 3 years or less. So that's a pretty big number. That number is growing. The 781 number are students who are at risk of becoming LTELs. That means long-term English learners. Students who have been in our system, any US system, for 6 years or more and have not reclassified. So ideally, best case scenario, we get our kiddos, and if they happen to come when they're in kindergarten or TK, we'd love to reclassify them before they leave our elementary schools. That way, when they get to middle school and high school, they are able to take electives. They have a strong command of the English language and therefore have more access to their curriculum in all their content areas. Not all of our kids come in at that age. And sadly, when we're working on this, many of our kids do, and we have not been able to reclassify them yet. So that's why we're excited about the work that Chitra is going to share with you in a moment. And then the 1,600, 1,679, those are students who are LTELs, long-term English learners. They're few in 5th grade, but the majority of them are in our 6th through 12th grade. And so those are students who are considered English learners. I use that language because that's the compliance language, but and they have not reclassified. We have many students who graduate at our high schools who do not reclassify. We could talk about why at another time. And so I just want to share the number. The 583 number was how many students we reclassified last school year from the 23-24, and I just added up. So that was 23-24, and then this year between August, September, and October, we've reclassified 53 students. We get the larger bump in the spring because that's kind of the season. But I do also want to highlight that we have been working with Dr. Aguili. We're really excited. We have just shared new reclassification criteria for students with IEPs to ensure that more students are not being held back, maybe perhaps by learning disability, but that we're truly focusing on their language proficiency. So that is really an exciting thing that we've been focusing on this year. And I am going to pass it to Chitra because she's going to talk a little bit about the California English Learner Roadmap.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. And good evening. And I'm honored to be here with my director to share with the board our work with the direction as we are heading as a MLL department. Just following Catherine's presentation, I'm pleased to reintroduce myself as Assistant Director of Multilingual Education, a role I embrace with deep commitment to serving our most valuable students and families. As a multilingual learner myself, I take pride in sharing with the board our instructional vision and its alignment with both the state and district roadmaps for our English language learners. This work is rooted in the collaboration with our stakeholders, as well as we are all striving for a meaningful outcomes for our students. So what you're seeing on this slide, this is our California's roadmap for English learners. Our work is guided by these 4 principles of the state's English language learners roadmap. As we see that principle 1 is an asset-based approach, high quality instructions and alignment across systems to ensure coherence and impact. So with these principles as our foundation and as our new leadership team, we are now working towards developing an ambitious vision and a roadmap for our district, which we proudly call Mount Diablo's English Learners Roadmap. And for now, I will focus on the second principle, instructional part of it. For us, educational equity is first and foremost about pedagogy. And we are working diligently in partnership with collaboration across teams to develop instructional and assessment framework based on our current research-based practices and keeping our local, our LCAP goals at the forefront too. So I just wanted to ground us on this California's English Learners Roadmap because these are the 4 principles that are guiding our work. And as Catherine said, we have a lot of work to do. And with this one, this is the one that we are starting to focus on. So I'll just, I'm going to unpack this slide for us. So just as Catherine, our director, has shared the asset-based approach with you, I would further illustrate what we mean by an asset-based approach for our system. We recognize that all students are language learners, And our English language learners bring the invaluable asset of speaking an additional language beyond English. So this asset-based approach is rooted in the belief that the students develop their cultural, racial, and linguistic identities in the classroom through instructions. So our students acquire language only and only through meaningful grade level, rigorous, and standard-based access across all content areas. And that is through science, social studies, math, and art. So our vision is clear. English is not a prerequisite for accessing grade level content. Rather, it is an outcome of engaging with it. So to achieve this vision, we have formed an English language development advisory group, which includes our principals, students, TOSAs, directors, and program specialists. So this advisory group is going to work to redefine our current designated and integrated language approaches and delivery model, and the shift that must happen grounded in research-based practices, as we just saw the data of about, which includes our reclassified students and our long-term MLL students. So together, we aim to build an infrastructure that ensures all students have access to high-quality, designated, and integrated EL instructions. This will help define the role of language in the service of learning the content. As this slide says, we are all language learners, and can we demystify the role of language? Language and content integration brings rigor for all, while essential for all English language learners. So this is a lot of work, and which also with a grounding on the California roadmap, like what is going to be our alignment of this work. So the implementation of this vision requires alignment and articulation across systems. So I will unpack this slide briefly with that intent. As a first step, we are actively collaborating to align our language and literacy framework with professional development efforts for our K-2 educators. Our literacy and language TOSAs are working in a strategic partnership to deliver professional development for educators grounded in this language and literacy framework and providing access to complex texts, which supports English language development. Our goal for this partnership and collaborative approach is content and language integration remains at the heart of our instructional practices. Through the series of these professional developments, we are building our knowledge of integrating the science of reading, the science of language acquisition, and the science of learning to bring both rigor, engagement, and academic English language development for our students. This work aligns with our district's language and literacy vision, which is centered on this California's ELA and ELD framework across all disciplines, language and literacy all day long. Additionally, with this work, we are also collaborating with our math adoption team with the same goal and the same vision. So with this is an alignment across the system. Now, through this alignment and partnership and collaboration across department, we are working with this MDUSD's language and literacy vision to centering on a vibrant multilingual community to ensure that every student is highly literate, a critical thinker, and an effective communicator. We will eliminate the language and literacy gap and empower all students for post-secondary success through our relentless commitment to rigorous, high-quality, and equity-driven instruction. We all recognize there's a lot of work we need to do in building the capacity of our system, our educators, our key stakeholders, teachers, and the biggest key stakeholders, our students. Today, we are excited to share where we are heading and where we have started. And on the next slide, our director is going to share the updates on some of the key initiatives that we are proud to be working towards a linguistically just and system and an alignment.
Thank you. And I just really want to reiterate the last slide that Chitra was sharing. The work that I know you've heard a lot about it at various board meetings, and I'm sure in other spaces. The work that our TOSA team has been working on with the science of reading and language and literacy, that is powerful. And we really feel like that is one of the levers that will help move our students forward. All of our students need a robust language and literacy, and you can't do one without the other, whether you're a multilingual learner or not. It just happens to be that many of our English only students come, obviously, with a lot more English. And so when they're learning to read in that language, they have that advantage. And so we are really working, and it's been a really exciting collaboration between the multilingual TOSAs and the ELA TOSAs. And so that's been a really huge labor of love. And we are about to have day 3 for the kinder, first and second grade teams. And so it's been a really great collaboration. Just a few other areas that we wanted to let you all know about. Maybe you have, or maybe you have not heard about Optel. It's an observational tool that is coming down from the state, and we're actually really excited about it. Basically, we are hoping to be back here in the spring, if not before, to seek your approval for replacing grades as an indicator for reclassification. This is an observation tool where our teachers, and we're piloting it in some spaces now, where our teachers are going to be looking at students' language build, students' language progress of in the proficiency in the 4 domains of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Because that is really what we're looking at for reclassification, not whether or not you have a C in your English class because you happen to find Romeo and Juliet, that kind of thing. So the grades right now that we have may or may not be aligned to your language proficiency. So we're really excited to get that going. And Chitra has been doing some work at Mount W High School. There's a small team there who's about to pilot it. We have a meeting coming up in the future with some of our elementary school principals. And what we did was we snuck in some of the Optel language into our progress monitoring tool for this round. So people are starting to think in a different lens of like, what kinds of scaffolds do students need and what are they able to do without scaffolds? Because that's sort of the lens of what students are able to do independently or not quite yet. And that's really how it measures the language proficiency. So we're really excited about that. And we're kind of ahead of a lot of districts. So that's exciting. As Chitra mentioned, we're also looking at the revision of our MDUSD master plan roadmap. We have some outdated sections and we're giving it a lift and we're talking to groups to get input. We are really excited about looking at how English language development might be able to be delivered in a different higher leverage way. So that's coming. It's funny, Dr. Clark, that you mentioned that you saw, her name is Vanessa Castillo. She happened to be there today in the Libertad class, which is at Olympic, our newcomer SLIFE classroom. And she was the one who was teaching that lesson in Spanish. So our newcomer social work specialist, she sits at Willow Creek, but she is currently funded by our Cal New grant, which we have. We applied for a few years ago, and she has been a huge addition to the department. She toggles between student services, and we all share nicely, but she's doing a ton of work, really important work. I just want to add the bullet is not there, but today we just had a final meeting with a lovely woman who hopefully will accept the position, a different grant. It's called the RC grant that you know about, specifically targeted at supporting Afghan refugees. We have a large, as you guys saw earlier, a large number of Afghan newcomer families coming into our district, especially in our monument corridor, Oak Grove, YV, the elementary schools, as well as other areas. And so the grant was received. We're in collaboration with the Church World Services. And so we just got to meet the woman who we think we'll be moving forward with. And she will be solely serving the students of Mount Diablo Unified School District Afghan families, helping them through enrollment, helping them make sure they have the resources that they need, and helping their families navigate the U.S. school system, because that's not an easy thing to do. In addition to that, we are starting to have some listening sessions with the community to see what other languages we could possibly bring into Mount Diablo Unified School District. So there will be a meeting next week, right, on the 19th, I believe, at Meadow Homes. That's the first community of schools that has really asked for possibly having heritage language. We are making sure that they realize this could be a few years out possibly, but we want to hear what people are hoping for so we can expand the language repertoire that we're offering, so we don't have families and students losing their home language when they come to our schools and then they reclassify and whoops, we lost the language and now can no longer speak to grandparents or just don't have that home language anymore. We don't want to be erasing one language to add a new language. So we're really excited about that. And so the first listening session will be next week. And then Chitra actually found this organization with, what is it, CIEE, I think? Yes. And they and our world language teachers got to hear about them, their programs. There are a lot of programs and with a lot of financial support for our students to be able to study abroad or for to have exchange. I know I saw in one of the Friday newsletters that Northgate had some students from Germany, I believe. And so we really want to increase that because again, that's all in the social competency area, building language, building understanding of culture. And so those are just some of the things that we're working on. So we're really excited about that. And I believe that is it. And if anyone has any questions, we do appreciate your time tonight.
I don't have a question, but thank you. And I really appreciate back on slide up at the top where you acknowledge that all of us are English learners. When we in our district get children, they only have 4 years of language development. And Trustee McFerrin, President McFerrin, is an English teacher. And do you have vocabulary tests? Stuff like that. Yeah. And grammar and like all of that. Like we're always constantly learning English, but also we come to school and we learn academic English. And so none of us grow up or even speak that outside of these school walls. So I really appreciate you acknowledging that, which kind of, it's more inclusive of like, for people who may look down upon like programs like these, of which we know there's many in our community who do, a third in our county probably, based on the election results, that they're learning English all the time too.
Interesting that you mentioned that. A few weeks ago, we were doing a presentation to principals and we kind of had that notion and we asked, how many of you are language learners? We hoped the whole room would raise their hand. I'm improving my English and my Spanish daily. We all are learning language all the time. And so that's exactly what we're trying to get at. We're all language learners. Some of us start in a different language than the one used in our school system. But yes, thank you for pointing that out.
I just want to say thank you so much for presenting to the board because when we were at the DLAC meeting and much of this was presented there, I was getting so excited about everything you were presenting and thinking about how can I help share this out? So now you've shared it to the whole public and us as a whole board to make sure we're all sort of rowing in the same direction, which is so fantastic. And I love the frameworks of it. And the way that you've laid it out as a team. I'm especially excited about Optel and the idea of, because I think when we look at our numbers and our scores and how many students are or are not reclassifying, I feel like I've heard for years that part of it is just kind of the bureaucratic system and the sort of strange range of requirements that you have to fulfill in order to do that. So the fact that you're focusing on that, hopefully streamlining it and having it more aligned with what it is that we're actually trying to measure is just really exciting. And I think that it'll be so much better for students too, to not feel that discouragement and that they have to continue to, to take that test over and over or to continue to be pulled out and miss the opportunity to take electives. I mean, it just opens up so much, really exciting. And then I'm really excited about the idea of heritage languages as well, because I remember when I was first coming onto the board that Dr. Popal had reached out because the Nora Islamic Center is right down the street from Ignacio Valley High School. And he was saying, we're at Nora Islamic Center, we're teaching Arabic and Farsi, and Dari. And so, could we figure out a way like they have done in other places? And I think in San Jose, they have done this where the students take the course there, but it could count for Mount Diablo School credit. And there is also a Japanese American club right down the street from Ignacio Valley High as well that has a Saturday Japanese school that I think had figured out part of that, of how to get that that partnership and that credit. So there's so much possibility here. And the idea that at our International Baccalaureate School at YV, that they'll be able to even access those things. Yeah. So thank you so much. Very exciting. Can't wait to see what comes next.
So we should be moving to board reports. I think last time I might have started with Trustee Ochoa. Do you remember? Did I start with you last time? Okay. And I see that you have your report ready, but I think we will start maybe over here with Trustee Mason. Trustee Mason, do you have a report this evening?
That I can talk about. Okay, I went to the DLAC meeting, so that was a good reminder of what went on there. I have to say, they're having great attendance this year, which is really nice, seeing some new faces. I went to the Delta View's Trunk and Treat that they had the Friday before Halloween. Also, Rio Vista had a huge parade with all the kids. I went to Shore Acres for coffee with the parents. I sat in on the TISP meeting, went to the very inspiring You Make a Difference evening, which will let Trustee Mayo tell you more about that. One of the people that were honored for her many, many years of supporting that committee and those kids and all the kids in our district. I went to Concord High School because they had a holiday boutique this weekend. I met with the Riverview. Well, I went to the Riverview parent meeting that no parents showed up, but I had a nice chat with the administrators there. And I had tea with Linda Ortega, and we found out we have a lot of books in common and other things in common. So I think we'll be having tea again in the future. And that's it for me.
Trustee Mayo?
Thank you. For various reasons in my family, I haven't been able to attend all of the meetings that the rest of you have. But on Monday, November 4th, I was able to attend a performance by the California Symphony at the Lesher Theater in Walnut Creek. The Mount Diablo Education Foundation, through grant funds and donations, was able to work with the California Symphony and the Lesher Theater to provide a musical experience for over 1,300 students in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. These students were from Bay Point, Pittsburgh, and Concord, according to the grant requirements given to the foundation. And the students, many of them had their first experience in a large theater with velvet curtains and all the lights and ushers that would seat them. And it was the first opportunity that they have heard an orchestra in a live performance. And for me, it was just as exciting to hear the soft melodies, the exciting drama in percussion and brass instruments. You could feel the sounds reverberate through your entire body through the performance. What was exciting about this was there was a video that played during the performance to introduce the music selections and the instrument families to the students. So not only were they listening to it, they were seeing it, and then they would be surprised when the symphony would suddenly sound a chord or play a passage with such passion and noise. It was amazing. I want to thank Aaron DiMartini and the elementary division for their coordination with the schools and the faculty and the students. I also want to give a shout out to the Mount Diablo Transportation Division. Those folks helped get 1,300 students, chaperones, and faculty to the performances in 2 sessions in one morning's time. And that was a day when the freeway was shut down because of accidents on both directions. And it was absolute chaos on our freeways and roads. It was amazing. I was there early enough to hear one of the trainers of the ushers talk to the volunteers about making this, wanting to capture the excitement of the students around a field trip. She couched it in such terms that she presented these young people to these ushers as adults that they wanted to please. And it was just so heartwarming to hear the care that was imparted in her tone and in her comments and about how these ushers would serve and welcome our students. And I want to thank the Mount Diablo Education Foundation and the grantors who made this an opportunity for our students. One of the individuals from the Lesher Theater said they are going to do their best to make it an opportunity again for students. And we discovered that we can transport 1,300 students in a single morning to a special field trip. Yes, it was exciting to attend the Community Advisory Committee You Make a Difference Awards, and I was very humbled by the award that was presented and the words that were spoken about me. Now I have to live up to my reputation. And I want to also recognize all the award recipients, including Janine Payne, who serves on the CAC committee. Families were there of the recipients of the award, as well as their children. And it's always a wonderful evening, like Dr. Clark shared. My original, someone had asked me, why do I value CAC? There are many reasons, because they support our needy students. But my first experience with the CAC committee was back in 1996, 1997, and 1998. The moms of our special ed parents came to a home where we had the Measure A committee phone bank, and they sat and made phone calls with us from 8 o'clock in the morning till pickup time for school. Those phone calls at that time, we only had lists of names and phone numbers. There was nothing done by computer at that point in time, and we had to hand tally the conversations and everything. They did it with a passion. The first time Measure A failed. The second time Measure A passed. And it was thanks to their dedication that we have 13 multi-use rooms at our elementary schools, 9 middle school multi-use rooms, et cetera, across the district. And that was one of our first initiatives for modernization of the Mount Diablo School District, although we need to do it again. So thank you.
Trustee Nzewi, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you. I have a lot of thoughts. First, fellow trustees, one of the first things I learned, which was a shift in my own thinking in the training, in the fellowship that I participated in at the beginning of my tenure as a board member through school board partners, was that school board meetings are for the board, which as a really engaged citizen in life, like I've spent, when I was 1 month, well, I didn't know, I was less than a month away, she was early, from giving birth to my child at a city council meeting until 3 a.m. before I got my chance to speak. But that meeting is for the city council to do their business. And similarly, and exactly the same, this meeting is for us to do our business. And I love civic engagement. To that, why I'm saying this is thank you, Dr. Clark, for presenting the data. That is no surprise to any of us, but you need to present that to the board. And I'd like to remind us all, in case our two luckily retired board members ever forget, that on this board are 3 working people and a student who has school tomorrow morning. 2 working people who have children at home, minor children at home. Mine, I'm sorry, I looked at my phone, with a child who's hungry because I did not get to cook dinner before I left, and she's home alone right now. So I quickly gave suggestions on what she can prepare for herself. And luckily she knows how to cook, but like what there is for her to prepare. But I just want to know that we all chose this, and our educators chose to be educators as well. Our staff that are still in the audience have to go to work in the morning as well. Sometimes this work takes a while, and it sucks. I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were on the Zoom until after midnight, and I'm barely keeping my eyes open. So I'm keeping us here longer by keeping talking, but I still have more to say. But I just wanted to remind us that this is our meeting. And I completely support civic engagement. I'd also like, my election year, our election year was the first year of area elections. So we don't elect our board members at large. So no one on this dais got to vote for our the successor to President McFerrin. People who know us should really know our values. We demonstrate them every day. We saw them in the presentations that we had prior to this moment. That it takes 3 votes to do anything on this board, and we still have 4. We clearly, Area 5, clearly, well, I don't know. I have no idea. I know we made decisions in Area 5 that based on public comment we heard during those decisions don't surprise me about the outcome of who's going to join us on this dais. But I know it's clear that the person who's going to join us on this dais, their values do not align with the rest of this board. And so I'm not worried. I'm only worried about what will be said, the offensive things that can be said, but I'm not worried about the decisions that we're going to make and the direction that we're going to continue to push our district. Because while we may disagree, we are not always agree. We do not always agree, but there is no doubt in my mind how our values align because we've demonstrated for the 4 years I've been here. Last week I got to attend, this is as in my work as in early childhood education, the most ginormous conference I've been to since like 1999, which was the American Public Health Association then. This time it was the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And I got to hear LeVar Burton speak. And I got to be read to by LeVar Burton on the day after the election. Which was a very hard day to have to travel, a very hard day to have to be with people I don't know. But he said, in regard to his work, and his life's work, what he's done and what he's accomplished, he says, I have no other choice. I have no other plan. There's nothing to do but to do the work. And that's what I feel like we are charged with in these difficult times that we have ahead. I've done, well, I don't know how to say, okay. I like to keep my head in the sand because I like to protect my peace. I like to protect my sanity. I still feel it sitting here today, walking through these doors today. I feel it here. I feel the fear, the disappointment, a whole lot of anger that I'm sure is shared by many in this room and many in our community. But the one thing I know we can't do is sit and just let things happen. And I know that there is nothing to do but to do the work. And I look forward to doing that with you all. Yeah, I was going to say one more thing. I was going to read one more thing, but I won't because it is 9:20. I'm so, yeah, we're going to do the work. It's for our district, it's going to be it truly is going to be all right because we are elected, and for the next 2 years, we got these 4. Plus, we will always have an amazing student trustee. I'm sorry, trustee Ochoa, every trustee before her, and I have no doubt that every trustee that follows her, student trustee, are amazing, powerful, smart, committed, progressive voices on behalf of our student population.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. Trustee Count?
All righty, well, to build on that, I wanted to say that I was also really disheartened by the election results. One of the reasons that it felt so devastating, I think, for me was to realize that over half of the nation rejected the morals that we were taught as kids. Right? So, be kind, be truthful, be ethical, be maybe sensible and level-headed. Don't be a bully. Don't be selfish. Maybe also don't break the law and don't rape, you know, some things, basics that I thought we had. And then on top of that, the notion that it seems that many voters actually want people leading our federal or even our local government who clearly have zero understanding of how government works. It's just mind-boggling to me because I work hard every single day to find ways to bring people together to improve our community. And that takes not only dedication, it takes compassion, but it also takes a lot of study, a lot of learning, and just a lot of hard work, right? And I just expect that every person that our voters entrust in roles like this to do the same. So that's going to be my expectations of the new person joining us on this dais. I'm expecting this person to work hard, study, learn how this government works, and work with us together to improve it for all kids. And I want to say there is still hope. There's still some good that happened out there. I think even when the world of a lot of sexism, racism, misogyny, for the first time in history, we have a female majority in the California State Senate. I think that's a necessary thing in this world. For the first time, 2 female Black senators will serve actually at the same time in our nation's capital. Very exciting. More women than ever before will serve as U.S. governors. We also have our first transgender congresswoman and our first LGBTQ Latina congresswoman and our first Iranian American congresswoman. So here in Mount Diablo, I think the most important thing for our students is for our students and our staff to know that we will not go back, that we will, as you were saying, we will stand up for every student's right to a safe and quality education, regardless of your race, your gender identity, or your immigration status. And we, I know, as you're saying, we will not tolerate hate, misogyny, racism. We just won't tolerate it. And we've faced this before. Even when I was a parent before even being elected to the school board, the first time Trump won, I remember being out in this audience with a whole coalition of people urging the school board to pass a safe haven resolution to ensure that immigration officials would be barred from coming to school grounds for students or student information. And I remember you, Linda Mayo, were the board member who stepped up to help write that and make it happen. So I want to thank you for that. I still remember that. And the board approved it unanimously. So thank you, Trustee Mason, as well. That. So I know we will do whatever it takes to stand firm in our values of equality and justice for all. So there you go. Okay, so on to the basics. I attended the DLAC meeting, which was fabulous. Thank you, DLAC. I also did get to attend a conversation with Dr. Mohammed Darwash. He runs an international baccalaureate school in Israel that I had visited, and I think I talked about when I visited Israel last year. So the United International Schools groundbreaking pedagogical innovation is focused on creating a stable and respectful community framework while creating spaces for dialogue and openness. And that actually, in the midst of this horrible, horrible war, is still proving to be successful. And the school serves as a model for education, for shared living, even in times of crisis as bad as this. The international school is 1/3 Jewish, 1/3 Arab, and 1/3 international. So when we talk about those international experiences, this is one of those as well. And so one possibility would be for us to connect our international baccalaureate school with this one. and learn. And I'm excited about that because sometimes within our own country, we look at the kind of, conflicts that people have between different groups, that can become violent and are challenging. And it's hard to figure out how to bring people together in peace. And this school is doing that in some of the most dire circumstances. And so I think we have a lot to learn from them, and our students have a lot to learn from them. So I'm excited about that. And lastly, there is some fun stuff out there too. I didn't make it to the Diablo Symphony, but sounds fabulous. I did, since the last board meeting, get to go to the what's called the Foothill Band Review in Pleasanton. It was their 50th anniversary. Can you believe these volunteer, parent band groups? They have organized this for 50 years, and they have school marching bands from all over the region come and compete and march down the main street of Pleasanton, and it's just fabulous. Northgate Marching Band was there, among others. And then also the Rossmore Big Band concert is where I was the night after the election, volunteering as well as getting to see our students play. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's a multi-generational band, ages 8 to 88. And anyone can join it as long as any student in the area can join. You just have to figure out how to get yourself there every Wednesday night to practice. And then you have these magical volunteer mentors, and you can be in their band. So that's really cool. And lastly, I just want to say congratulations, Linda, and for your Make a Difference award, and for all that you've done for so many years here, and particularly in that area. And congratulations to all of the awardees that night. I know one of them was Patty Coronado, right? Which is just wonderful because we were just talking about that partnership and how we need to break down those silos and have the partnership between our multilingual learners and our special ed. So I am hopeful. There's a lot of good that we are all doing, and a lot of ways that we're all working together, and we're going to keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cound. Trustee Ochoa?
Last Wednesday, I participated in a Zoom meeting for the Teaching and Inclusive Support Practices Advisory Panel. The meeting focused on finding ways to better support special needs students in the classroom to help them provide, focus, and engage. During the discussion, I suggested that providing students with more tools to help them advocate for themselves could make a big difference. Those tools could include resources to build self-advocacy skills, tools for organizing tasks, and to improve communications with teachers and peers. I believe that empowering students to take ownership of their learning can have a positive impact on their academic success and well-being. The meeting was a valuable opportunity to brainstorm ideas with other educators and stakeholders on how to better support special needs students in our classrooms. In addition to the advisory meeting, I had the chance to visit DVC for a journalism event. The campus hosted several guest speakers who shared their experiences and careers in journalism. It was inspiring to see how they got started, the challenges they faced, and the different paths they took to succeed in the field. The visit gave me a deeper understanding of the opportunities DVC offers for its students, especially those interested in publishing journalism. It was impressive by the I was impressed by the resources available on campus, and it was a great opportunity to see the campuses firsthand and learn more about the journalism program.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I will try to be brief in my comments this evening, but I do just want to just start with that I really I started my experience in Mount Diablo teaching at Mount Diablo High School, and that was I've always been really grateful and really invested kind of in any kind of school community that I've been a part of, and to witness the incredible dedication of our teachers and school staff, on that level. And so kind of with tremendous support and being really grateful for that support then and also now, it's been just really incredible to be able to be in this role and to see kind of what dedication looks like at this level. And I just really appreciate my fellow trustees and kind of within the group as a whole and in individual people. The words that I would probably use to describe this group are, heart, really thoughtful, diplomatic, and Things also like being incredibly detail oriented and community minded, being incredibly courageous and brave, and being incredibly professional. Those are the things that I see in you and more. And so I've just really appreciated being a part of this group. And also Dr. Clark, I just really appreciate your commitment to being such a frequent and strong communicator and answering all of our questions, and being so incredibly accessible to us and to our community as a whole. And you know, it's a really, really odd time to be expecting a daughter. And I'm also so, I get choked up sometimes, but I'm also like incredibly excited to tell her about serving along such strong, competent, um, interesting, and caring women. I I considered and reconsidered, but I think of that as a compliment. So you know, and I appreciate just the thoughtfulness with which like I've seen every one of you make your decisions. And really just always keeping our students and our community just at the center of all of your thinking and all of the important decisions that you make. So I just really want to thank you. It's been an incredible honor to serve alongside you. And I just wish you the best. And I just look forward to staying involved, kind of however, you know, that comes about, you know, whether it's, you know, as a parent in a few years or whatnot. But I just wanted to express my deep appreciation for this group and this opportunity to serve alongside you. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. So I don't have a big long presentation, but I do just want to acknowledge, you know, Aaron, you brought up just the professionalism of this board. Keisha, trustee, and Zay, you know, you brought up, you know, like we've done the work. We are committed to our students. This board has made decisions to benefit our students. It's unfortunate that, you know, that there are some who want to blame and point fingers and things like that when things may not be going as, you know, this is tough work. Educating young people is the toughest and most rewarding job that's out there. And it's unfortunate that every now and then we have to go through these periods where the integrity, the commitment of this board is questioned. And so I know, because I've really gotten to know each and every one of you very, very closely, and how serious you take this position as serving all students here in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. So so I just want to recognize this board that, you know, we're going to go through some times and some things are going to be said and things like that. But your commitment, we have the receipts for what we do for students, what we do for staff, what we do for families in this district, and that is critical. So I just wanted to say that. With that said, President McFerrin, I have a little something for you, and I have a couple words. So I'm going to go up. If I can be seen, heard.
Is this a certificate? This is so exciting.
Some positivity here, but you know, you have a very unique position because you are a sitting teacher, and then you get to serve on the school board. And so you really get to see the big picture of sitting at that dais of what it entails to make tough decisions. You cannot make decisions that's going to please everyone, but you get the information, you ask questions, you get input, and then you make the best decisions, the best responsible decisions for the students, families, and staff of this district. Your presidency, you have served with honor, you have served with professionalism, you've served with dignity. And so on behalf of the 29,000 students in our district, the close to 58,000 parents in our district, the close to 3,800 employees in our district, we want to give you this plaque with this gavel, because I know you really enjoy hitting that gavel. You do. So, and we do have, you know, a certificate of appreciation but I have thoroughly enjoyed, getting to know you. You have people may not think, but I mean, like you're an English teacher and you're quite intimidating, but you you have like the best personality and you're so quick and witty on your feet that you really bring brevity. You like that word? You bring brevity to to maybe some tough conversations that we have to have. But so just on behalf of the board, I really just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your service. I think what you're doing is honorable. Your daughter is extremely lucky in the future to have you and your husband as parents, and I know you're going to do a fine job being a mother, and we are extremely proud of you. So I would like to present this to you.
I would just say that when you first got on the board, I'm like, how is this quiet person a teacher and gets up in front of the class all the time? And then you got the gavel, and then I get it. I can see how you take control when you have the gavel. You're all, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. We will miss you. And I hope you'll share photos of your child with us or come visit us once in a while. And the kids that you see every day in the classroom are lucky to have you. And we were as well. So thank you for giving us 4 years of your life.
It's been a great honor to work with you. I've learned much from you and appreciate your presentation and your ability to speak well. The CAC meeting, I think you were so appreciative of the families and they felt genuinely appreciated by your comments. I do have something for you, your baby, and your husband. So later you can open it and enjoy it. There we go. And
everyone's looking.
We can finally be Facebook friends because on social media, we can't be involved because of this Brown Act, but now we could be Facebook friends.
I'm on there under my maiden name, so I'll tell you that one soon.
I was actually, I mean, I was like, no, I can be social media friends with Erin. That's what I look forward to. So Erin McFerrin, I'm about to say something that's going to offend some people, but you're going to love it. You are one cool white lady. You remember, like, people get mad when I call people white, that we're white. So this has been a 4-year journey. Like, we had the crazy idea to run for office during a pandemic. Then we never even met in person until our first in-person board meeting. There was a recall effort just a few months after being elected. Like, we were in office just, I don't know, 3 months, 4. It was, we had just gotten here and they wanted to recall us. I mean, all of us, like, you were all special, but like us especially, who had done nothing except say offensive things to people. I mean, it's me who offends. I don't care. I speak the truth, my truth always. I reflected last night that you are so much like my daughter, or she's so much like you, and you're quick, you are quiet. I don't, and believe it or not, so am I. Like, I am comfortable in silence, and except for when I have a microphone, I don't, yeah. But you remember last spring, you told me. So one, people don't know, Erin remembers everything and everyone. So I was reminded, this isn't a good comparison, but it's kind of funny. You remember last year there was this elephant somewhere that killed a lady and then showed up at its funeral? And it's real, like, because elephants remember things. That's not funny, except that you don't remember like that. Like this animal could find the person who wronged them or whatever. And you remember everything and everyone who emails us and speaks to us at public comment and what they said, what their concerns are, how they may have praised them. And it's really valuable. And I'm going to miss that. But how you're like my daughter is in your quietness. People mistake that for perhaps apathy because in our favorite Facebook group that you can't go into, in the springtime, there was description of like you be like, what do you even do? And I'm like, if they only knew. Eric McFerrin is savage. Eric McFerrin doesn't take shit, sorry, from anyone, quietly. I don't know. I know my child sits in quiet judgment, but with great values and, being on the right side of judgment. And that also is you. I also appreciate that you, as a really cool white lady, use that white lady privilege for all who don't have that. And you've done that before this board, and I know you're going to do that after. I also reflected, as you just did, that you get to have a daughter in 2025. Just like I've thought about, I have to send off my child into adulthood in a couple of years in the same setting, and that's daunting. But for you, I know that you and your husband are going to raise the most amazing child to be the most amazing righteous person who uses their privilege for fighting what is right and just always, because Erin McFerrin is their mother. So it's been the greatest honor. I'm so mad that you're not coming back. Like mad. No, it's no. People also don't realize we don't get to talk. And I'm so looking forward to deepening our friendship beyond this dais. That's what I look forward to the most. So
I'll try to be brief this time because I've been talking all meeting, but I have a little card for you. And I just wanted to say congratulations on completing such a successful 4-year term on this board with one excellent year as our board president, our fearless leader this whole year. It's just been so wonderful to serve with you. You brought your perspective as a teacher, but you also brought a level head and a boat full of compassion. I really appreciated our thoughtful brainstorms because we can talk to just one person about something every so often. So when we had a chance to do that, looking really thinking through in detailed ways for solutions on some of our toughest problems. I'm gonna miss that. Although I guess I can do that now. Okay, I'm gonna remember that. But so I'm just gonna miss you so much on this dais and in this role. But at the same time, I'm so excited for you and your family, and your next chapter in life, and can't wait to meet your new baby and see you as a parent. As everyone said, you're gonna be amazing. And just thank you so much for all you've done to serve Mount Diablo and the Mount Diablo community. And you've done so much to move us even closer to that vision of really excellent public education for all. So thank you.
It was great working with you while I had the chance, and I hope one day you could stop by so we could see your little girl.
You did already tell me that you babysit and do swim lessons, and I didn't, and I have not forgotten. So I will be in touch. Right. It was an excellent metaphor. All right. So
Consent.
the consent agenda. Oh, thank you.
It won't break.
All right, so we move to the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would like to pull for discussion? And if not, we can entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
The motion by trustee Count and a second by trustee Mason. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
What did they say? We were just talking about my memory. So- Okay, and that motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So we move on to our business action items, 18.1.
Yeah, so 18.1, we're requesting approval for Title IX compliance. I know it's info action, but we're going to ask for action.
Really appreciate the detailed work on this. I move that the board approve this item as presented.
Second.
Motion by trustee Count and a second by trustee Nzewi. Trustee Ochoa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So we move to 18.2, review and potential approval of changes to board policies and administrative regulations for California School Board Association CSBA recommendations, September 2024 quarterly update. This is the first time that's been presented and it's here for information this evening. Any questions or comments? No? Okay. So then we can move to 18.3. Update to the course of study for the academic success course. This is also an information item. Okay. So we don't need a meeting extension. We don't have any carryover items from closed session. Are there any suggestions for future agenda items?
Just bringing baby McFerrin.
I've already promised that if she's not a screamer, I will bring her in. We'll see. So I will adjourn this meeting. Good night.
Wow, thank you.